Here we are.
Welcome
Day 5.
Day 5, the Greater Reset 4, co-creation. John, how you guys doing in Texas?
We're good. We had a great time last night hanging out with Zuby and JP Spears. Everybody, I think, is feeling very, very motivated, inspired, maybe a little bit tired, but we're feeling good today. How about you?
We're dealing with a little bit similar things. We didn't have Zuby and JP, although I saw that went amazing. We did have a show last night organized by the community. I think some people were there last night because we're slowly trickling and starting even later than normal. But we're doing good. We're excited. I know that we're going to just jump right into it in a moment, but I just want to say for everybody who's been tuning in, thank you so much the last 4 days. This is the final day of an event we work 6 months on every year to put this on, and we continue to work on for next year. So we're so grateful for everybody tuned in from the 22 countries around the world and all the countries and states represented in Texas and Mexico. This is, I think, to me, myself and John, one of the most important days of the 5 days. They're all important, but this one is very valuable. So thank you guys for being here with us.
Yeah. Community Day is really what it's all about. And we're going to talk today about the Freedom Cell Network here and there. And we have some incredible speakers that are actually living the intentional community lifestyle because it's something that a lot of people desire. I want to just quick shout out my daughter. I don't know if she's in the audience. Check out this artwork that she put together here. Do we have that? Look at that. She did a little greater reset. All right. We were able to pull it up full screen. That's impressive. Give it up for my lovely daughter. Okay. Thanks, guys. All right. Now, before we get started, we wanted to do a quick intention setting. If y'all pull me up, there we go. We want to do a quick intention setting with somebody that is a very valuable member of our local community. She just wrapped up a workshop, in fact. So she's going to help us to set the intention, which is such a critically important thing that often gets overlooked in all the hustle and bustle. I'm going to bring up Cynthia Lamb, and she's going to do a quick little 1-minute manifestation session so we can be all primed up today. It's different than mine from yesterday. But come on, Cynthia.
Thanks, John. All right, everyone, if you have anything on your lap, just go ahead and set that aside. And sit tall with your spine tall. And let's take a big, deep breath in together and let it out on a sigh. We set the intention of light and love. We set the intention that all that occurs herein be only that which is in the highest and greatest good. And we call upon the presence of the loving. And we ask that each of us now be filled, surrounded, guided, and protected by the clear white light of living love. And we set the intention for the highest level of community to be brought forward here today. We set the intention to reside in our own authentic power and sovereignty and come together in community collaboration. And we ask for the highest blessings of strength, joy, peace, and prosperity consciousness be brought forward, that we may co-create the lives of our dreams, lives filled with peace, joy, deep meaning, connection, lives lived to our highest potential as we co-create peace on earth. And for this and for so much more, we give our thanks. So be it.
Do you want to share your website real quick so folks can learn more about the work you're doing?
Vibrantfreedom.com. Freedom is available. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Cynthia. All right, Derek, we'll let you take it away and introduce our first speaker.
All right. Thank you for that, Cynthia. And thank you, everybody who's tuned in. It is important. We did this from the very beginning, day one, and we're continuing to set our intentions. I want to say one more thing before we introduce these speakers. Thank you to everybody who came to our conscious speed dating last night. It was hilariously fun, and I hope everybody who came enjoyed it. So today is all about building free and conscious communities. As John said, we're going to hear from people who are already living in communities, some in Mexico, some in Texas. But our first speakers are coming from somewhere else, and I'm really excited for them to share with you all about their vision and what they plan, maybe how we can all co-create together. So please give a warm welcome to Yoshi and Paula Pantera. Thank you, guys.
Preparando este espacio para empezar a dar más vida, comentando comentando desde el corazón, abriendo la mente, abriendo el corazón, celebrando, celebrando toda la vida, liberando, liberando la razón, recuperando el poder de ser libres y creativos con Madre Tierra. Cuentan los abuelos que hace cientos de miles de años la tierra se congeló. Los animales se asustaron, las plantas, las flores, los hongos no sabían qué pasaba, pero ya no estaban escuchando a través de la red de la tierra las frecuencias de los otros reinos vegetales. El delfín rosado, la anaconda y el jaguar se metieron a las cuevas porque sentían frío y querían estar más cerca de los líquenes. El animal humano también siguió este ejemplo y se quedaron en las profundidades de la tierra. Ahí vivieron 1000 años, hasta que luego sintieron en sus corazones el mensaje de la tierra de volver a salir a la superficie. Ellos estaban agradecidos porque se dieron cuenta que fueron acunados por la gran selva viva, Causa y Sacha.
Welcome, everyone. Yoshi Pantera and Pola from Ecuador. This is a presentation we prepared for today about regenerating cultures. If you can present it for us. Selva Viva, the Amazon jungle. One of the most diverse places of the world. It's in danger. Ecuador, Peru, Bolivia, Brazil. There's a lot of exploitation, a lot of death. And I don't want to talk about too much of the dangers. Pásale va. We are aware of it. We don't have to be in the jungle to understand that we're living in a degenerative culture. Every single habit of everyday life is participating in a degeneration of life. The Amazon jungle, it still exists, but if we don't take care of it, it'll be extinct. So what can we do about this if every single aspect of human life is killing life, degenerating, meaning that is not participating for it to keep existing? We can talk about from the moment we wake up and the water we use, the toothpaste, the toothbrush, our clothing, our mattress, our home, how it's built, our bathroom. Everything from human life is participating in the destruction of all life on earth. And who's doing something about it? What's being done to regenerate life? And so this is where we come in. Pásale va. We come in from a culture, as you see, we're dressed with Ecuadorian outfits. A little mix though, but we met, and here's our story. This is a Spanglish experience, so welcome to enjoy.
Muchas gracias con todos, gracias por su presencia. Quiero compartirles que mi nombre es Pola Pantera, vengo de Quito, Ecuador, de los Andes. Ahí fui criada por mi familia de origen amazónico y también de origen chileno. En toda mi crianza recibí las enseñanzas de mi abuela, quien las plantas y las flores, y desde muy pequeña me contaba las historias de la selva. Desde ahí yo resulté fascinada por toda esa exuberancia. Luego tomé la decisión, gracias a la presión de mi padre, de viajar a Italia para poder independizarme y sacar de mí todas esas desconfianzas que tenía de mí misma. Cuando llegué a Ecuador, me puse a estudiar comunicación y desarrollo sustentable, porque había entendido a través de diferentes libros que la publicidad y la cultura de masas estaban lavando la mente de la gente y les estaban programando con doctrinas de sumisión y de control. Yo no quería ser parte de eso, así que cambié mi propósito en la comunicación y me dirigí al lado de la comunicación cultural, comunicación de las culturas. Y gracias a esa experiencia conocí diversas culturas de nuestro país. Con ellos aprendí sobre la selva viva. La selva es toda la tierra viva que nos da el sustento, todo lo que necesitamos para vivir. Ahí está el agua, ahí está el alimento, ahí está también nuestra cosmovisión, porque a través de todos los seres que en ella convergen, nosotros podemos estar en sincronía con los siglos de la vida. Y cuando estamos sincronizados con los siglos de la vida, entonces nuestra capacidad creativa se expande y estamos en estado regenerativo. En estado regenerativo, la plenitud es evidente. Y en esa motivación de vivir en la selva, pues conocí a Yoshi Pantera. Para ello yo tuve que sanar muchos aspectos de mí misma. Tuve que soltar varias creencias que tenía con respecto a lo que es ser mujer. Yo crecí en una familia en donde me inculcaron que tenía que mostrar mi lado más hermoso, pero de una forma bastante comercial, ¿saben? Y bueno, esto también a mí me ayudó para pagarme mis estudios universitarios. Trabajé por varios años como modelo. Sin embargo, en mi corazón había una desconformidad. No sabía quién realmente yo era, aunque tenía esta presencia energética de mi abuela que me recordaba la vida, pero a la vez tenía la confusión de la sociedad, la cultura de masas, y no sabía a qué bando ir. Pero cuando conocí a Yoshi, pues como que todo se encajó y tuvo sentido, y mi propósito lo tuve con firmeza y me di cuenta que mi misión era aportar a la regeneración de la selva amazónica y de las culturas ancestrales, porque son ellas las que están cuidando este pulmón tan importante para todo el mundo.
Yeah. Thank you. So, as she shared her story from her awakening, I'm sharing mine. Back in 2009, I was 25. Also questioning what's happening in the world and what can I do about it? What's the most immediate thing I can do? And understanding our reason of existence, my reason of existence, and questioning what's my mission? What am I here for? Do I really need to exist in this reality? What's happening? What is this? If I'm not happy with everything after realizing and being conscious about what's around the world degenerating every single day, what can I do about it? So it's a long story and we don't have much time, but I definitely want to say that we do have an inner power inside to really, really understand our essence. And from there, we have the opportunity to take radical action. And we can't do it on ourselves. It comes in community. So the opportunity of the story is to understand my reason of existence. So I wake up in Ecuador, 19 years old, questioning everything. I go through addictions, of course, alcohol. Of course, I was racist. I was raised to be racist. If you see a black guy, cross the street because you're going to get stolen. If you see an indigenous person, they're less than you. But at the same time, I grew up thinking I was always poor. I grew up in the farm back in Kilómetro 108, Pedro Vicente Maldonado, putting water from the well, ordeñando las vacas, which means to get the milk from the cows. And I grew up like that. But at the same time, I always thought I was poor. And I was having that poor mindset for many years of my life without understanding my inner power. So then I questioned, like, why are my parents doing this? What did my grandparents do in my life? What's the story of my grandparents? There's no story in my whole grandparents. I don't know who they are, what they did, what did they leave us. I don't care about money, but what did they leave us in their mind, in their experience? So I question all these things. So at 19 years old, when I realized I have to get out of this country, I left from Ecuador. I went to San Francisco, California. Randomly, I didn't even know what was San Francisco. I ended up to being there, and I got culture shock because I saw two men kissing. Then I saw a black guy being very friendly with me, and it's just culture shock. And then I started realizing the habits of everyday life from every place, from different parts of the world, that started affecting my life. And the people I met in San Francisco, very diverse place. It's a home to be. However, then starts happening gentrification there. And then all these things that really make me question about my reality in San Francisco, and why am I learning about health and abundance with nature and the connection with our spirit. Then I realized I have to go back to Ecuador. I go back to Ecuador 2014, and that's where we met with Paulette. When I went back, I really went with all the energy, that everything that I've learned my 12 years in San Francisco about health and regenerating life. I went through permaculture and a lot of story there, but the situation is we're talking today about action. It's not about the problems, not about necessarily our story, but it's just to understand what culture means. I come back on Ecuador, I get culture shock again. I come back living so long in San Francisco, I get to Ecuador and people treat me like I'm a tourist, right? But at the same time, they're angry with me. It's an angry culture. I couldn't stand it. After a year of being in Ecuador, I went back to San Francisco because I needed to recharge energy. So I got culture shock going back to my own country. And I go back to Ecuador, right? And I realized, well, my mission is the jungle, and that's what we talked about. That's why that's the purpose of my life, my existence. I found it finally after not knowing what to do with my life. The energy of the jungle was calling me every single time in the nighttime while I was dreaming, my ceremonies and different things. And that's my mission now with her. And when we met, it was beautiful because it's hard to meet somebody. It's hard to meet somebody when you align with the food, we align with dancing, we align with the vision, very important. If we don't align with the vision as a couple, it's hard to live together. One of the most difficult things is hard to live together with a partner, with a community, with your family. It's hard to live. So why is it, and I start questioning, why is it so hard to live with somebody that you love, that you trust supposedly? Why is it so hard? Anyway, I go back to Ecuador, I bring my family together, we met meetings, we did meetings, family meetings. What does family mean? Let's do something bigger. There's so much love and so much trust, let's do something big. It didn't work out with my family. So I started making different nucleus of families. Also, I had family in San Francisco. I still have family in San Francisco. I come back to Ecuador, start building a new family with my wife right now. And so 2014, we created Seeds Transcendence, which means is for one day, how can we live together? How can we live together? So I'm going to get into that in a little bit. ¿Puedes pasar el este? I'm going to talk about culture right now. ¿Quieres hablar de cultura también? De regeneración.
Regeneración va mucho más allá que la sustentabilidad. Es una fase más evolucionada, porque la sustentabilidad se queda en solo reparar el daño que está hecho, en solo tener algunos componentes que permiten tener una vida más lineal, ecológica, pero en la regeneración nosotros entramos a un estado de potencialidad en donde la naturaleza funciona con su inteligencia natural y nosotros como seres humanos ya no tenemos que intervenir. Es la naturaleza que con su inteligencia empieza a generar todo un movimiento. Y yo siento que muchos de nosotros hemos despertado esa conciencia. Tiene que ver también con la elevación de la frecuencia de Madre Tierra que influye en nosotros porque somos parte de ella. somos como sus células, hijas. Entonces podemos decir que nosotros también somos madre tierra. Y si nosotros nos equilibramos como ella también se está equilibrando, entonces entramos a un estado regenerativo y nuestro organismo en estado regenerativo funciona en salud, en abundancia, en gozo, en plenitud. Entonces, las culturas regenerativas es cualquier tipo de cultura que transforma sus hábitos para estar en potencialidad, en equilibrio, en homeostasis, que es el estado natural de todos los seres que vivimos aquí en Madre Tierra.
Yeah, so she's saying about regeneration. Yes. So she's talking about regeneration. I'm going to talk about culture. What is culture? Culture is the accumulation of custom. Custom comes from the habits. Every day I'm doing something that I repeat, becomes a custom. The custom becomes a culture. A culture becomes a tradition over time. And that's what we live today. We live traditions. Some of them we don't question really. But at the same time, we respect our ancestors. Most of our ancestors' wisdom we have carried, but we have lost it. But now, if we observe, we have a degenerative culture. Like I mentioned, every aspect of our life is degenerating life. So another interesting thing that's happening during this time is called culture appropriation. I see in the universities that they're teaching culture appropriation as something bad. You don't have to do that. What? You're wearing a Mexican hat? You can't do that. Hey, you're wearing a cloth from India? You can't do that. That's appropriate. Hey, you're singing something from the Asian culture? You can't do that. But at the same time, you go ask people from Mexico, hey, what do you think about este hermano using the sombrero? Hey, that's cool, man. You don't think that's offending you? No. Hey, I'm wearing Ecuadorian culture, a mix of from the coast, from the jungle, and also from the Andes. It's a mix of all clothing, shoes, pants. So am I taking that away from my culture? It's not really I didn't born with it. But at the same time, I identify with it. I identify with this because it's spiritual. I identify with this because it's spiritual. I don't identify with something that, I don't take something that I don't identify with. So cultural appropriation is a need so we can exchange our culture, our knowledge, our wisdom. So that's the way we can grow. And that's important to keep in mind. So now we ask ourselves, what habit am I doing every day in my life that can create a regenerative culture? What habit in my everyday life, what decision of my everyday life is helping to create more life? So regenerative culture is how to create more life in our everyday habits, in our everyday decisions. So we created Seeds Transcendence for the first day. Pásale, va. And that's amazing art, as you can choose. My habits of my everyday life make who you are, who I am. I am because of my decisions of my everyday life. And if I choose to be on the side of degeneration, be it. If you want to be on the regeneration, you have to choose. We're in a moment in time that we can't be in the middle. So we have to take that type of action, a radical action. So with this, I empower myself. We empower ourselves. We empower and we start creating collective wave. It's a collective of consciousness, a wave of consciousness. Back in 2009 in San Francisco, we put ourselves together and said, there's a wave of consciousness that's happening that we need to wake up and take action and regenerate life. So we started creating these projects. We started with seeds. Then we did Flora plant-based cuisine. Then we did the Sikwanga Eco Village, Tropicana, which is a regenerating tropical dance party event with no liquor and no trash, and the Regenerative Culture podcast. So meaning 15 years ago, and I was like looking at my ceiling and I was dreaming, what can I do? And then time has gone by and I was like, wow, I didn't know anything. I didn't really study. I didn't I did study, but on my own way, not university. I did go to college, but at the same time, what is that type of information? Of course, I love my teacher. I learned a lot, but at the same time, I felt that it was missing something, and I came across permaculture, and that helped me a lot. And of course, there's so many other tools that I want to share, and I'm going to share in a little bit. But this is what's happening. Pásale, Bobby. Oh, wait. Let me just share. Go back. What time is it? Hold on. I got some time. All right, so let me share. Seize transcendence. For one day in 2014, how would it be to live like an eco village? How would it be for one day to not create any trash? How would it be for one day to not think about money, everything free? How would it be for one day to eat healthy? How would it be for one day to hug some people and something to love? And we did it. It was a free event. We got about 100 people to join, but at the same time, I was expecting 500. And then I realized, wow, Ecuador is not ready. I feel like it. And I have to do so much promotion and marketing. And then we did 3 days, then 5 days, then 7 days. Last year in 2021, we did a 21-day experience of how to live as an eco village, as a community, with principles that allows us to understand that, yes, it's possible. It's possible to do it. Let's not be afraid. The technology exists. The wisdom exists. Everything exists to live abundantly, to live regeneratively, to live with great technology, of course. Everything exists. But we're afraid. The only thing that's missing is us. We are afraid to actually learn how to live together, to share, to communicate. Let's learn to breathe together. Let's learn to eat together, to cook together. Let's learn to plant. Let's learn to build a house. Let's learn to give birth without the governments, without the corporations. Let's be independent, because what's happening is that they're taking so much power away from us that literally we don't know how to breathe. So literally we have to take that action. So that's Seize Transcendence. Awesome. You can check out the website. That website is a lot of work, years of putting it together. Finally, we put it up last year, and I'm very grateful for that. So if you could take a peek and take some time to just get all the information and see what can you use it for. Ponle otra vez en el otro. So Seeds was for the first 2014, 2015, and then it was so struggling for us to keep it going with economically that we had to open Flora Plant-Based Cuisine. I've been in restaurants over 20 years. She's been amazing cook, plant-based, vegan for many years. We opened our restaurant in Ecuador in 2016. We closed it 4 years later because it was still a lot of work, and we have a vision, which is Eco Village, and then we built the Eco Village, which is Chisicuango, with the Quichua Canelos community. We started to build it with them. We're not going to come there and say, hey, I'm going to hire you. I want to build this hotel, these houses for me, and I'm going to hire you guys, because that's gentrification, and that's also being part of enslaving the locals. Here, the intention is how we can co-live together with the local community in a way that we are brothers. So we build the experience, we create the experience in the jungle with them, and we have this intercultural experience with people from Europe, North, also South America, and the locals. So it's beautiful to see different ages, different color skins. It's just amazing. We cry on the 3rd day, we cry on the 5th day of happiness. It's amazing. No medicine yet. It's just love. It's just sharing. And that's so impactful. Imagine 21 days. That was back when we were doing 7 days with all this crazy energy. Imagine 21 days of just powerful energy of love. It's amazing. Now, when we did Flora Plant-Based Cuisine, what's that? Creating a permaculture restaurant. That's a regenerative business. It's not participating in buying food from conventional or packaged food. We did everything from scratch from our local farmers. We cook everything organic, plant-based, non-GMO, and provide that for our locals. And at the same time, teach. We were the first restaurant to start doing workshops. We were a cultural center restaurant. But in Ecuador, it was too new, that kind of stuff. Here you can see it, of course, but in Ecuador, a cultural restaurant was impactful. We closed in 2019. At the end of 2019, that was 4 years. We went to 2020 to Florida to visit my mother. Pandemic hits, we don't know what to do. We opened a food truck, because this is what we do best, is plant-based vegan food. So thank you so much for that. We got Flora Plant-Based Cuisine. We got Sicuanga Eco Village, which is a space that you can visit now. And we got Tropicana, which is a blend with, it's an event where you can celebrate. We need to celebrate. Now, Plaza Levavita, we're going to finish up with this part right here. Regenerative culture, it's a way of life based on decisions and actions which help create conditions for more life to exist. Simple and straightforward, and that we have to keep in mind with each decision that we make in our everyday lives. I want us, you started applauding, man. Ma'am, you applauded. Please, let's applaud for regenerative culture. Please make some noise for that, because it's so much work for us to put this word together and actually take action every day with regenerative culture. Now, here are the methodologies and the system that we've been using. There's more to it with more detail, but the most principal column, vertebra, is here. Regenerative principles. You can go in there, and there's the principles that we've been taking very seriously from many cultures around the world, eco-villages, events, different principles from permaculture as well, that allows us to do this. So check it out, please. We got social economy. This means that you can create your own coin. If we want to take our power, we have to use our own coin for us to transact, for us to exchange without the banks and the governments and corporations. So we did our first coin. It's called Muyu, means seeds in Quechua, and that means that it's a crypto, away from the crypto world and the crypto market. It's just us, 120 people using our blockchain technology and exchanging our goods and services. And it doesn't go up and down. You can trust it always. We got sociocracy, how to make decisions in community without hierarchy. That's a plus. It's very important. How to resolve conflicts, how to make these decisions in harmony with the community. And a couple more things. ¿Qué pasó?
Eco Village Network.
Okay, we got the Eco Village Network, the Global Eco Village Network. There's so many, hundreds, thousands of eco villages taking action. Connect to that, because this is the realization that we're more people living self-sufficient and resilient with life. We got get involved. Please get involved with this last one right here. It's our get involved link. You can participate, invest, donate. You can also become an Eco Village partner and live with us. Whatever you feel to empower yourselves, to empower each other, we can do it in that link. Please take it with you. And I appreciate you. I appreciate the space. I appreciate the Greater Reset for being here. And tomorrow we're going to do a regenerative culture workshop, design your own holistic reality. Today we talk about it. Tomorrow I can give you literally all the tools of a system of how to create your own system, your own eco village, or join ours and start taking action and become independent. Yeah.
Let's make some noise for both of these beautiful human beings. Thank you guys so much for being here.
Yeah.
I hope everybody in Texas and at home enjoyed this as much as we did.
Yeah.
You, John.
All right. Thanks, Derek. That was a perfect way to end that speech. Yeah. That's what I was thinking, the exact same thing in my head. You know, that's really cool too. Everyone's like, we need to onboard onto Bitcoin. All right, so let's use Bitcoin to trade, or Monero. But the challenge is if I give you a good and you give me Bitcoin and then I hold on to that Bitcoin, there's a chance the next day that Bitcoin could be worth 5-10% less, or 5-10% more, which would be nice, but you never know. So it kind of creates a bit of a challenge to circumvent the dollar and dependency on going back in and out of the dollar. Now, of course, you could receive Bitcoin, immediately convert it to dollars, or a stable coin, which is pegged to dollars. Well, yesterday was Tech Day. But anyway, what they've done is a closed loop ecosystem with their own blockchain. And it sounds like it's probably just a stable currency that's not constantly fluctuating with everybody trying to make money and time the market and blah, 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 blah. So that's the type of thinking. In fact, we think about that at our office, because money comes in from tickets, from workshops, from selling Kratom and CBD, and then staff gets paid. Well, some of my staff lives on our property and they pay rent. It goes into another business, and then we take that money and we buy farm equipment and gardening stuff, right? And then my friend helps to set it up and he gets paid. And so we kind of have our own little circular economy too, but we're using the dollar like a bunch of clowns. So thank you, Yoshi, for inspiring us to think big and to do bigger things, because is a blend between Tech Day and Permaculture Day. And I'm really grateful that you guys presented. Also, I'm really glad that y'all, that the woman presenting spoke in Spanish. And some people are like, Why are they speaking in Spanish? You should be asking yourself, why haven't I learned Spanish yet? Right? Okay. Okay, cool. All right, I'm really excited to present our next speaker. He's a good friend of mine. I work very closely with him. He's a solid guy. I just feel blessed to have attracted such an incredible team of volunteers and staff and just incredible human beings into my life. This guy's a hard worker. He's a doer. He's got a pretty incredible, adventurous life. In fact, sometimes I envy the guy because he's always happy and jolly. He's very light on his feet, and I'm really excited to bring him here today to present about this concept that he came up with. You've heard of a mobile home. You've heard of homesteading. I've heard of the mobile van life and nomad thing. Well, he's got this concept called mobile homesteading. Seems like a paradox, huh? All right, without further ado, let's hear from Nomad Brad, ladies and gentlemen. Get him, B. Nomad Brad.
Hello, good morning, friends. Thank you for joining me today. I want to apologize first and foremost. My voice is a little blown out. I went too hard at the Zuby concert last night. It was an incredible performance, and it was so great to see so many of you who went last night to a community garden. Look at that. The majority came out and partied, and it was awesome. So I feel great, but my voice, not so much. But we're going to work through it. And so I'm Nomad Brad. The topic I'm discussing today is mobile homesteading. And so I want just right off the bat to address this topic is valuable for many different type of folks. If you are a landowner or if you are a farmer or a small business owner, this is definitely valuable information for you because you might be able to benefit from mobile homesteaders. If you are not a landowner or a business owner or a farmer, and you are interested in exiting the city and building community in the country, then this is definitely going to be valuable information for you. And then can I see just a quick show of hands, who here is interested in exiting the city and creating community in the country? Who's interested in that? Quite a bit of people. So I love it. I'm glad to see my people are in the building. So let's go ahead and talk about ways we can do that. So I want to take you guys back about 5 years ago. I personally had a crisis. I woke up one day and I hated everything about my life. I was working 60, 70 hours a week and I felt trapped. And so I did the most logical thing that I could think of. I sold everything I owned. I sold my house, my business, my cars, my motorcycle. I broke up with my girlfriend. I bought a van on eBay and I converted it into a tiny home. And like a crazy person, I just went out and lived in the trees, in the forest, in the desert for several years by myself. Of course, there were friends and experiences along the way, but I just really needed a change. I needed to get out. And I found that through living in nature and being so close with nature and its healing abilities, I really was able to kind of discover what was interesting to me and what was missing from my life. And that was really two things. The first thing was living closely with community. And the second thing was living closely with nature. And so let's rewind or fast forward now a couple years. And I'm up in Oregon, living in my van, loving the dream of being out there and just kind of being a nomad and exploring. And then COVID hit. And Oregon locked down really hard and really fast. And before I knew it, they closed all the restaurants. They closed pretty much all the stores, except for a few grocery stores. And they would absolutely not allow you to shop without a mask. In fact, they had security guards at the front door with masks. And if you did not put one on for them, they wouldn't allow you in the store. So it got really crazy. And the defining moment for me was it was all over the news, but the local sheriff's office like roughed up this elderly lady who was trying to shop without a mask, and they like drug her through the store and arrested her. And then the local community in Oregon started a GoFundMe to try to help get this lady out of jail. And like half the comments for the GoFundMe were like, F this woman, she wouldn't protect herself, like she's threatening the community. And for the first time in my life, I was like, I don't know where I am. like this is not my people. I don't recognize any of this. For the first time in my life, I like didn't feel safe around law enforcement. I felt like these people are my enemies. They're not here to help me. So at that point, I was like, look, I can't just be living in the woods all by myself. You know, I don't want to have to be foraging for, you know, to try to survive. So I was like, I got to find community. But I still want to be in nature. I don't want to be in a city. I don't want to be in an apartment. So at that pretty much the same time, I found out about the Freedom Cells. So freedomcells.org is a great website that you can go and find like-minded folks in your area who are also interested in similar things. And so I found the Freedom Cells, and John Bush happened to post in one of the Freedom Cell groups that he was looking for help with his businesses here in Central Texas. And then also that they just purchased a 10-acre homestead. And so he was interested in someone that was going to come and help him with his businesses, but also help on his land as well. And I was like, well, that works out for me because that's exactly what I want. And I have my own housing, so I don't have to rely on him to like put me up and have a place for me to stay. So long story short, I ended up here in Central Texas, and I've been here on and off for a couple of years. I'm still traveling and going out and enjoying the weather. In fact, the thing I love about mobile homesteading is that you can travel, so you're not tied down to a specific location. So last winter, it started to get cold here in Texas, and I said, hey, John, I'm leaving. And so I went west, and California had opened up. They relaxed their vaccine mandates and stuff. And so I went to San Diego, and I was laying on the beach. I was like walking through the surf, you know, got the ocean up on my toes. And I was on my phone looking at Facebook, and John and Rebecca posted a video, and they were like in hoodies and beanies, and they were like shivering, talking about how cold it was in Texas. And I was like, yeah, that's right. So I live in a van, you know, just get the heck out. So anyway, it's just really great to have that freedom, but then also still have the community. So let's talk a little bit about mobile homesteading, exactly what this is. And so mobile homesteading, the idea is that you're living on and contributing to a homestead, but at the same time, you're owning your own mobile housing. And so the reason someone might consider this, right? There's many different reasons, but first of all, it is the fastest and the cheapest way to exit the city and start building equity in the country. And the reason for this is that you're leveraging somebody else's assets. You're not having to sell your stuff, buy a house, buy a lawnmower, buy fencing, all that stuff that goes into a homestead. You don't buy any of it. You just show up and you help out, and all the hard work is already done for you. Another reason you might choose mobile homesteading, it is the easiest way to sample the lifestyle without fully committing and relocating. And let me tell you, mobile homesteading, or homesteading in general, it is not easy. If you live in a city and you get up and you walk and you get a smoothie, and then you walk to the farmer's market and you get some grass-fed beef, and then you go home and you watch a YouTube video, that is not homesteading. I went and stayed about an hour north of here with my friends Rita and Val, and that's actually this picture right here. So this is their property up north, and we're up at 6 a.m. every day milking goats indefinitely. So, you know, it's a different lifestyle, and it's not only getting up at 6 a.m., but it is also, if the chickens are making a bunch of noise at 1 a.m., you got to go figure out why. If the dogs are barking and getting in a fight, you got to go out and chase off a coyote. So it's a very different lifestyle. It's very rewarding. I wouldn't have it any other way. But if you're not accustomed to it, it could be quite a shock. And so the benefit of mobile homesteading is you can try it out and see if it's for you. It might not be for you. Like, you really might be more comfortable in the city, and that's fine. Everybody's got their own place that's meant for them. So it's a great way to kind of sample the lifestyle. Additionally, if you're a potential land buyer, it's a great way to explore communities and locations that you might want to live without just selling everything and committing. And there are communities all over the country. I visited some in Oregon, California, Arizona. There's a strong community here in Texas, Oklahoma, Tennessee, all have big communities. And if you fly in for the weekend and visit and shake some hands, it's a very different experience from living there for 2 weeks, getting up at 6 a.m., chasing off coyotes at 1 a.m. So it's really a good way to find out where are my people, even in the freedom community or whatever community you subscribe to. There's going to be different folks in different regions with different values. And so you really want to make sure, if you're looking for community, that you find the one that's the best fit for you. So having a mobile lifestyle allows you to really sample all those different locations, and then also just traveling freely. So you can work for 6 months, you can work for 9 months, and then you can go travel. I'm going to talk about my expenses a little bit later, but my expenses are under $1,000 a month. And so, yeah, we'll talk about that later, but it's good times. This is a picture of my home base right now. This is Radical Roots Ranch. This is a drone photo I took about a year ago. So it's old. We've done a lot since then. We have all kinds of garden infrastructure, and we have wicking beds set up. So it's a little different, but just to give you guys an idea of the homestead I landed on. And the white van in the picture there, that's the van I was living in, and that's parked right next to the guest house. So in many of these communities, there are shared amenities. So the great thing is, if you live in a van, you don't have to spend your entire day in a van, right? You're outside, you're working, you're visiting, doing whatever you want. This community has a guest house. You can go hang out in the guest house, read a book, watch a movie, shower, use the restroom, all that type of stuff. And so this is my current home base. Now, there's different ways you can contribute to communities. You can either work, or you can rent, or you can do a combination of both. Some homesteads are purely looking for financial help. They might have all the labor they need. And so if you're someone that has money already, or you have a remote job, that homestead I stayed at up there at Rita's place, there was a guy staying there. He might even be, I don't know if Mariano's here, but Mariano is a software engineer. And so he was living in his van, and he traveled, and he stayed with them for a couple weeks, and he was in his van doing software work. And then he would come out in the evening and help with, the chickens and the goats and that type of stuff. But so you don't necessarily have to be a farmer. You can contribute money in the form of rent. And then if you want to work, you can work for the homestead, or you could also work for a local business. So if you have a skill set that's not remote, if you're in the trades, if you're a plumber or an electrician or a hairstylist, you could still work in the local community, do whatever your normal job is. But then in the evening, you get to go stay at the homestead, be a part of community, and then, volunteer some time in the evenings or weekends to help out. So either way, whatever your financial situation is, there's absolutely room for you at the homestead communities. This is just a sample of some workday items we have here. So planting some seeds, harvesting some watermelon. This picture on the right, one of the tasks I had is I turned this stall of our outdoor barn into a chicken coop. And so that took me a few days to put together, but that was something that I did. And I charge hourly for my services. So not only do I live on the ranch for free, but then also I charge hourly. So that was a pretty nice little project. Now we have chickens that provide eggs for the whole farm, and the property owners didn't have to worry about it. They're very busy working and doing the things they do and organizing community. And so they didn't have time to build a chicken coop. And so I was able to come in and help with that. And that's what the community aspect is all about, is people helping people. And so depending what community you find, there's all kinds of opportunities. Many farmers and homesteaders have also small businesses they run. And so these are a couple pictures. This picture on the left, this is John's podcast studio. So I help him produce all of his webinars and his live events. The picture in the middle, that's their dogs. I do some dog sitting for them while they're gone. And that gives me the chance to stay in the main house and use the bathtub. And I like a good Epsom salt bath. And so when I'm house sitting, I do it up real nice. So that's kind of the photo in the middle there. Get the candles going. It's a vibe, guys. And then the picture on the right, that's actually last year at Exit and Build. That was me working behind the booth. So many other homesteads, they produce products. They do farmers markets. They have other jobs that aren't just farming. A lot of people, when I talk about homesteading, they're just picturing like you're just out in the dirt all day, like weeding and like planting. And you can do that if you want, but there's so many other things to be done. You don't have to be fearful that you're going to be like a serf just farming all day like an animal. So another benefit of the mobile community is shared resources. So one thing I talked about earlier is if you join a community, you don't have to buy all the stuff. So this right here, I'm sitting on a $4,000 zero-turn mower that I didn't pay for, and I don't pay for the gas in it. And I actually get paid to drive it, to mow the lawn. So it's a pretty sweet deal. I get to benefit from the freshly mowed grass, and it doesn't cost me anything out of pocket. We also purchased a deep freezer this year, and then we did a community beef share. So I don't have a huge freezer in my van, but we have one in the guest house, and so I'm able to take advantage of that, store my meat in there. And then additionally, their house has solar panels and a Tesla Powerwall. So in the event that we do lose power over the winter, over the summer, whatever, we have battery backup and we can actually generate our own electricity. So as long as I'm there on the farm, I really don't have to worry about any kind of a grid down scenario. And I'm going to kind of just cruise on through this. Find your community. That's a picture from Exit and Build last year. I had a great time meeting all those folks out here in Central Texas. And so Homes on Wheels, I want to talk a little bit just kind of about what your options are. So you can basically, if you're a single person or maybe a couple, you can do like a van, and you can buy stuff already converted. So you don't have to like learn skills to build out your own home on wheels. You can buy stuff that's already done, but you can get a van if you want. It's kind of a smaller space, or you can get an RV or like a truck and trailer combo. The truck and trailer combo is really nice for folks that want space and they want to feel like they're living, you know, in like a full home, and they have slide outs and they get pretty big. And if you go with the truck trailer combo, you can have the trailer that you leave on the homestead, and then you just drive the truck into town. So it's a really easy way to kind of get around and move and have all the modern conveniences of a home. Here's a picture of a van. I personally love living in a van because anywhere I go, I have all my stuff with me. I have all my clothes, I have all my food, and I use it just all the time. Like if I'm just going to go downtown for a concert or something, I'll go downtown to the concert like an hour early. I'll make a meal in the van. I'll just kind of hang out. I'm not rushing and like stressing to get to parking. And then after the concert's over, I just go out to the street and I just go to bed, you know? So like, I don't have to worry about drinking or like trying to drive home at night. Like I just go, I'm already home. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's just a really crazy experience that all of a sudden, like you never have to go home because you're always home. I'm telling you guys, it's crazy. It's so much fun. Okay. And then again, this is just kind of the truck trailer setup. It's a great option for families and, you know, people that want the full home experience, but they want to be mobile. Also, I just want to mention, you can buy an RV or a truck trailer combo. And if you take good care of it and you get a good deal when you buy it, you can live in it for a couple of years and you can damn near sell it for what you paid for it. So right now the market on these is super strong. And so it's something that it's an investment in your lifestyle. You're going to save a bunch of money, but then additionally, if you do end up, you know, buying something that's kind of expensive, like a trailer or an RV, you're not necessarily going to lose that money when you're done. It works for families too. I've met many families that live on the road. This is a family of 6. They homeschool. The husband has some kind of a remote job, and they've been just traveling the country for like 2 years. This is the Hawking family. You can find them on Instagram, Hawking Adventure Bus. And they sold their house in, I think, Iowa. And it's a great example of like, they're always posting on Instagram pictures of their kids, like just out in nature, like climbing up boulders and trees. And they're always doing these huge family outings and gatherings. And I just feel like that is such an awesome way to raise a family and really create a strong bond, rather than everyone at 8 a.m. goes their own way and you know, does their own thing. And then you get together at 7 and you kind of share a little bit, but to really have that just time together all day. It's a pretty cool way. Okay. So is it expensive? That's the first thing people say. Gas is so expensive. How do you do it? It's so much. And then they ask me, what kind of fuel economy does your van get? Cause I have a Honda Civic and it gets 30 miles a gallon. And I tell them, well, my van, you know, gets 9.5 miles per gallon. 9.5 miles per gallon, which is like, it's so much. but I don't pay electricity, I don't pay water, I don't pay rent, I don't pay insurance, I pay car insurance, but I don't pay homeowners and renters insurance, I don't have a trash bill. So many things I save on. So I'm actually going to go forward to the next one. So here's an example of this is realistically my monthly expenses. My car insurance for my van is $67 a month. I only have liability. If I roll it into a ditch, I will just build another one. So insurance 67, cell phone, iPad unlimited, 150 bucks. My YouTube subscription and Adobe and all that is about 65. I spend about 400 a month on food, about 100 bucks on supplements to hopefully make me last longer. And gas is obviously a variable cost. It depends on how much I'm traveling, but 250 is a pretty good guess if I'm like moving around a lot. So $1,032 is about what it cost me to live wherever I want. And so it's really not expensive. And I tell people, like, you can't really rent an apartment for $1,000. Definitely not in Austin. And then if you rent an apartment, like, you probably still have a car and all this other stuff, right? So anyway, it's super affordable. You could see how you could work a part-time job and pay the bills and still have money left over for fun stuff. And that's the cool thing too, is saving so much money doesn't mean you live like poor and poverty mindset. Like, you can have nice stuff. Like, this is like $100 linen shirt. I mean, I'm not trying to brag. I only have one linen shirt, but I'm just saying, like, you can have nice stuff, right? So that's kind of the benefit of saving money, is you can spend money on things that really matter to you. So the question is, how do we do all this, right? Like, how do you find a community? The Freedom Cell Network was really the catalyst that made this all possible. That's really where all the like-minded folks congregate. So the first thing you got to do is sign up for an account. freedomcells.org will take you there. And so that's the first thing you got to do. Once you get in the network, you create a profile. And additionally, you want to get into the Telegram chat group. So within Telegram, that's where all the like day-to-day interactions happen. That's where it gets broken down even more. There's a Central Texas group, there's a South Austin group, wherever in the country you are at, you'll find multiple options. And so you just got to get in there and start talking to people. And like I said, when I first got here and started just kind of meeting the Freedom Cell folks, there were about 4 different people I met that had land that needed help, that were like just hungry. And so I was hanging out with John, and for a little bit, I was trying like, oh, I'm going to go help these guys and help these guys. And it was way too much. It was super overwhelming, but the need is there. And the need is there all over the country. So you'll be amazed if you just go in and post and, hey guys, I'm looking at traveling. I love to visit. Who has a farm? Who needs help? Who is accepting visitors? You would be amazed at how many people will raise their hand and tell you that they want your help. So, and they have room for you, and they're happy to have you, right? It's people that are excited to see you. That's the cool thing, is you can show up to an absolute stranger's house, and immediately you guys have so much in common, and there's just kind of this warm experience of like a brother that you haven't seen before, or a sister that you've never met. And so the Freedom Cell Network is a really cool group of folks. And I got to say, I tell John and Derek, I commend them on their ability to source awesome individuals. In all my Freedom Cell experiences, it's such a self-selecting sample. I've never met a jerk. This weekend, I've seen cell phones and iPads and laptops strewn all over the place, and nothing comes up missing. There's no thieves in here. Like, it's incredible. And so the Freedom Cells is really such a warm place to be, and I recommend everybody definitely sign up to create an account. This is me and Becca and John just doing homestead stuff. You can see Ramiro in the back. He's kind of photobombing us there. What's up, Ramiro? So we're all meeting down here in Texas and just hanging out. So the last part, really quick, my website, nomadbrad.net. If you're interested in homesteading, I have a 4-hour workshop that I did that's way more in depth, and it covers all the details. It has like all the websites. If you want a van, this is how you do it. If you want to meet people, this is where you do it, all the details. And then additionally, there's also a 4-hour content on just like van life stuff. So, and not just for vans, but mobile traveling, right? Like, how do you create a route? How do you buy insurance? How do you juggle working and traveling? Like all that stuff. This is from a crazy guy that moved into a van 5 years ago. And so I downloaded all my info onto there. So check it out. You can also book a one-on-one consultation if you're like, you want help. I'm happy to help you guys. And so there's just all kinds of resources there. Also my YouTube channel, and there's a free ebook I published on solar power. So all kinds of good stuff, nomadbrad.net. That's me. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
All right, Nomad Brad. Thanks, Brad. Thanks, B. Or as I like to call him, B-Rad. Because he's a pretty rad guy, that Brad. Give it up one more time for Nomad Brad. He's got a pretty nice setup there, that Brad. Pretty cool property he was living on there, too. They got a lot of great stuff going on. Except for those Tesla power walls. I'm not going to say anything else about the person behind that company. All right, ladies and gentlemen, today is Community Day. It's all about community. And before we hear from a couple sponsors that have helped to make this event possible, I just want to encourage folks that they should consider stepping out of their shell and meeting people. Even myself, obviously, people probably think I'm a big extrovert, but to be honest, there's many times when I would just prefer to sit at home and relax or be at the office working. But in all honesty, you know, I work really hard, and one of my favorite things to do in life, besides going to the water park with my kids and Rebecca, is to catch some really good shows. And HBO sure puts out some good. I've seen The Sopranos maybe 6 to 8 times, Game of Thrones maybe 4 or 5. But for real, when there's events, when there's a concert, when there's a comedy show or whatever, there's been many times where I wanted to just stay home and not talk to people and not drive and not go deal with the weather or whatever. But every single time when I push myself, when I sell myself to go out and mingle and be social, I never regret it. I always end up having a blast. And that's especially the case when it comes to our freedom community. So for those of you that identify as introverts, for those of you that feel a little uncomfortable socially, I want to remind you that this community is extremely forgiving. Now, I'm usually pretty confident and not insecure when I'm in public, but sometimes when I have a little bit too much Delta-8 gummies, I get a little awkward and self-conscious. And there's an exercise I do in order to overcome those feelings of like, am I being weird right now? Are people judging me? Did that make sense what I said? Oh my God. Like even last night, I was like, these freestyles are kind of goofy. It didn't go how I wanted it to go. Rebecca's embarrassed. And then I walk off stage and everyone's like, oh my God, that was so incredible. Wow, wow. I'm like, oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But I'm just saying, everybody would assume I got it all together and I'm just always confident, blah, blah, blah. It's not always the case. So the exercise that I do is, I'm like, am I being weird? Am I being weird? And I think to myself, all these mofos are weird too. We're all just a bunch of weirdos, and we're all very kind, forgiving, and compassionate towards one another. So if you find yourself feeling awkward or uncomfortable or socially anxious, just let it go and let's all jam together. All right. Thank you. Because you got to go out and meet people in order to overcome this great reset agenda. The Community Day is one of the most popular days because at the end of the day, it's people power, it's strength in numbers. That's our most powerful factor in overcoming this and creating a better world. But you're not going to be able to do that if you're hiding out behind your computer. Okay. All right. This event would not be possible without the generous contribution from a handful of incredible businesses and organizations, and we are going to take a short moment to hear from some of those incredible businesses. The Greater Reset Co-Creation is sponsored by ECI Development, offering clients the ability to own or rent properties in luxurious South American neighborhoods. Whether you're looking for investment opportunities, retirement options, or planning your next vacation, ECI has you covered. From Grand Pacifica, Nicaragua, Grand Caribbean, Costa Rica, Grand Highlands, Panama, Belize, and many more locations, you're sure to find your own slice of paradise. ECI has a proven track record and business model that the competition can't match. So what are you waiting for? Visit ecidevelopment.com today and start the next chapter in your new life abroad. That's ecidevelopment.com. All right, give it up for ECI Development, ladies and gentlemen. ECI Development. Okay, great. I want to thank you all for being here. Community Day. It's a really important day, and we're going to go ahead and kick it back to Mexico because they have our next speaker standing by.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Let's make some noise here in Mexico. You guys enjoying Community Day so far? Ramiro, can we get this shot tightened up a little bit on our side when you get a moment? Guys, as John was saying, it is so important for us to connect and meet new people. Hopefully that's what you've been doing over the last 5 days, whether you're in Texas or here in Mexico. We're not going to overcome the difficulties we're facing as a species and as individuals if we don't work together, if we don't collaborate. And that means sometimes, as John said, we got to get out of our little bubbles and out of our comfort zone and meet new people. So that's also part of the purpose of this whole event. We're trying to introduce you to new people, maybe people you've never heard of who are doing great work, like we heard from Yoshi. Give it up one more time for Yoshi and Paula and their work, doing great things. And Nomad Brad, of course. Well, we're going to present to you now my new but good friends here who are doing also equally amazing work that I know you guys are going to enjoy. Please make a round of applause for Arturo and Lydia.
Hello, everyone. How are we feeling today? Tired? A lot of drinking last night? Okay, I'm Lydia.
Hello, everyone. My name is Arturo.
We are holistic architects and healers. And before we jump into our presentation, why don't we take like 10 seconds to just come back to our heart. If you want, place your left hand in your heart. Close your eyes for a few seconds. Come back to this space of gratitude, connecting with the earth, with the sky, feeling that vertical link, connecting to roots, connecting to each other, feeling that we are such a beautiful light network, bringing change, bringing our dreams come true. Just take another deep breath in. And exhale and come back to this space.
Thank you so much, Derek, John, for inviting us here. I want to do 30 seconds. 30 seconds. Ho'oponopono, maybe you know this technique. You know? Yeah. Okay. So let's do it 30 seconds. If you're in your house, if you're watching online, so just the person that is next to you, whoever it is, we will please look at each other's eyes. 30 seconds. We'll do some community because community is bonding. Independent of eco villages, that is the places that we will live in. So we make communities in a very easy way. So we will bond. 30 seconds. Take anyone that is next to you, look them in the eye and say, I'm sorry. You can say it loud or you can say it inside of you. Just say, I am sorry. But feel it. And then say, please forgive me. And then say, thank you. And the last one, I love you. Woo! Great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. This is the healing aspect. We'll go through a lot of slides, so please take, I don't know, your mobile phone or anything you have to write down notes. We'll give a lot of information. It's a presentation that it's designed to feed both hemispheres, the masculine and the feminine, so you'll have a lot of images that we don't have enough time to go through all of them, but you will see them, and also a lot of intellectual information. So just open your mind for that.
So today we'll be exploring sacred geometry, off-grid living, holistic architecture. Our company is called Geophilia. It's a project for the love of the earth. That's what it means.
This is very important. We all know what happens when we go into the incoherent fear world. This is the coronavirus time. And then we have up the coherence, it's love. And then we have the implosion, which is the feminine world, and the explosion, the masculine world. So what we want to do in geophilia, and what we invite you to do also, is to find this balance, and of course try to go towards coherence and love, because we all know these crazy guys, they want to pull towards fear, and they will keep doing that. But what are we going to do? We will go to love. We will keep going there to love, and more and more. I studied a lot of things, telecommunications, engineer, psychology, architecture, and I have been studying and teaching for more than 25 years. Sacred geometry is my passion in life. So I used to organize many congress and courses all around Latin America, Mexico, Spain. Next. Whoa, you went very fast. This is a congress that we did in Mexico in a university, and it's amazing how now this concept of sacred geometry or fractal geometry comes to universities, and we'll show you a lot of science regarding that and how you can implement it, because we're here to share with you a lot of solutions that we have found, and you can avoid a lot of mistakes that we did. I did a bike trip from Madrid to Istanbul, 3 months, and I found her. So that's why we're together, actually. So if you believe in love stories, they actually happen. You just have to get out of your comfort zone and go and find whatever you're looking for. This is Dan Winter, a physicist that we have been working. He's a very good friend. You may know him. Dan Winter, you can just search online. We have been working with him for many years.
Okay, from my side, I've also studied architecture, and I was looking into sustainable environmental design. But what I want to share more with you is a little bit of my story when I moved into a freshly new built apartment that I thought that was a good idea, and I ended up very sick in there. And I started realizing that I needed to find solutions firstly for myself as an architect. I was feeling like this spacing is making me sick, and I didn't know why. Then I figured out it was many things. One of them was like new paints and new cupboards, formaldehyde, if you ever heard of it. And also, I couldn't sleep in my bed at all. So I realized after a lot of trainings and research, there is something about our location, which is called geobiology, and we will see that in a bit, meaning that where we build our house, and especially where we have our bed, can influence our health long term. So that made me go into doing a PhD, even though I didn't want anything into the academic world. But I found an amazing professor in research, and we looked very deep into the subject, and I ended doing a research on how actually temples are related to these special locations and why they seem to be put there. And really, what was the actual reason that these temples were built? They were a very complex technology. All that, and let's say all what Arturo had been doing, my passion on temples and sacred space and his passion on sacred geometry, we put it together, and what we are doing is decoding all this ancient knowledge and wisdom and trying to implement it in modern architecture. So we also have this collaboration with this amazing guy called Nassim Haramein, if you don't know him. Yeah. We have been being in his retreats, like presenting there, sharing about temples, and he's an amazing person, like Dan Winter also. We want to point them out because they merge physics with ancient wisdom and spirituality, and this is also our path. So we've been doing a lot of things around temples and sharing deep knowledge.
So what is architecture? Is a mix of science, engineering, and art, design. It's somewhere there in the balance. It comes from the Greek architekton. And we have 5 levels. Whoa. We have 5 levels of reality. This is very important. This is really important. We have the chemical level, which is our physical body, but then we have an electromagnetic body. You are all related, and you know about this bubble that we have around it. It can be scientifically measured. And then we have a gravitational body, which is like a donut. It has a shape like a torus, like a donut shape. And then we have the informational level, and at the end, the consciousness. So all these things, it's very important because we sometimes just put attention into the physical chemical body. But the architecture that we are bringing to you on this vision we have is how can we also be in spaces that are healing for the electromagnetic level, for the gravitational level, also the information level. What is the information we're getting? What are the visuals we're getting from spaces?
Because we have like physics of quantity and we also have physics of quality.
So sacred geometry, have you heard about sacred geometry? Okay, great. So I will just skip this slide. Sacred geometry or fractal geometry, it's just the same. This is one of the most important images of forms of sacred geometry, which is a torus. And this torus, it's our gravitational electromagnetic body, which has different movements, implosion, explosion. And the universe, these physicists that we were telling you, they discovered that the universe we live in, has a structure, a lattice, like imagine like a grid. And this grid merge both the pentagon and the hexagon. And this, you can find it everywhere in all types of cultures and traditions, etc., etc. They merge this hexa, the part of the geometry of the universe that it's stable, that it's called the cube octahedron. And many physicists, geometers, scientists, Buckminster Fuller, they realized that this part of the geometry gives stability. It's the geometry of the vacuum. You have seen this image, the flower of life. So if you see it in 3D, it's really amazing because, of course, this is just projection. So this is an image in 3D that has these bubbles. Next, please. And you can do many things. This is called iterations, and you can create more surface in one single image. This is the same, the cube octahedron. And from these, you can create. Oh, you went very fast, David. 1 second. And from there, you can create all these laws. So what they discover is that in science, you have all these laws that fit exactly in this octave of the universe.
So basically you have the hexageometry that is stability, where all the lattice of the time space is there stable. But when something gets born and then it creates itself in different scales, you have the golden ratio. Have you heard, guys, of the golden ratio? Yeah. So this is what is the law of distribution. So the pentageometry is the masculine geometry that makes things move. That's what I would like you to keep from today. These two things are the most important. What is called sacred geometry, in all the ancient teachings that you might have heard, we now know that it's part of quantum and physics in all levels, which is really amazing. So this is like the relationships that we find in the pentagram. That's why the pentagram has been so sacred and also has been misused a long time. So this pentageometry gives fractality. What is fractality? It gives connection across scales. It's how we are all connected from the micro scale to the huge scale of the universe.
We can find phi ratio, in the internet, there are tons of videos and etc. We can find it in our hand, in our heartbeat, etc., etc. We will not go into details. We also have Le Corbusier, that he was doing many details about how to use it in architecture. And then this is really, really, really amazing. This is a slide from Dan Winter, and what he discovered is that when you take something that it's very, very, very small, which is called the Planck length, this is a scientific term, but imagine a little torus that it's really small. And you have this little torus, and you multiply it times phi ratio, and guess what? You end up finding exactly, but precisely, all the things that are important in the universe, like, for example, the radio of the hydrogen, the ATP, the Planck length, like exactly you find all these ratios. So what we did is that we take all this information and we apply it to architecture, because actually we can embed, or we can be in fractality with all the universe. And what we did is this: we linked the microcosm to the macro, and we're in the middle, in the mesocosm. So the more fractal we are, the more empowered we are, the more coherent we can be with this field.
So where do we see the effects of sacred geometry? Many of you maybe have heard of cymatics. So we do know that different frequencies cause different patterns. So different geometries are linked literally to different frequencies. Also structured water, passing water through vortexes, the work of Victor Schauberger. We see there that the different molecular architecture, hexagonal in the structured water, is far more absorbable in our bodies. There are many other experiments. We don't have the time to share with you experiments with fruit that you place geometries, and the geometries actually help not get bacterial infection in fruit. And milk that was kept in pyramidal shapes didn't grow any bacteria in laboratory. So this is both esoteric wisdom and part of science today. We could go on more and more on that, but if you guys want to learn more, Arturo has a course in the Resonance Academy. It's right now in Spanish, but in a few months will be in English, and it will be called Cosmic Design, Linking the Micro, Macro, and Mesocosm, teaching all that. So from my research, I wanted to share a little bit with you what is geobiology and how it's related to temples. So geobiology is how the earth or the location can affect biology. And very interestingly, Hippocrates, maybe some of you have heard of him, the father of modern medicine, he says in his ancient Greek texts that actually in order to heal someone, you don't only need to know what he's eating or where he's living, but actually the location, the subsoil. He literally uses that word. So after many years of research, I found out that when there is, where we are living, when there is a thing called geophysical anomalies, which in simple terms means that the earth field in that area is either higher significantly or lower, that can be a reason for many diseases. I'll just give you here one example. This is a map of St. Petersburg. And what they found out that in the crossing of fault lines, the cancer incidence was 20 times more. What that means is that this reduces our immune system. And in the long term, for most people, because we're all different, it can create problems. Now, I started looking in this research, where are these ancient temples placed? And in looking in temples around the world, from pyramids to megaliths to all these kinds of different temples, they actually follow a specific pattern. So in UK, they follow the radon pattern. And you will think, first, how did they know to place them in areas that are high in radon, and why? So this was a very long research. These are other places, for example, in France, in Greece. But what I wanted to leave you with today from this part is that there is something called hormesis. Hormesis is when we get something on a short dose in a very small, let's say, amount, yeah. And that can be healing, but when it goes to a very high dose, that can be really bad for our health. And that's what they used in temples. That's like a whole workshop to explain that to you, but basically they use the electromagnetic field of the earth and the sky to create healing in a short-term exposure. So that's a lot of research that it's my passion, and we have tried to put all this knowledge in the geophilia design. If you want to learn more, I do also have a course in the Resonance Academy called The Sacred Science of Ancient Temples. So we also have a project in Greece. We have taken the permit for 50 ancient Greek temples to measure them with an interdisciplinary team of engineers and physicists, and this is coming also.
So with Geophilia Freedom Cell, we really resonate with this idea of the Freedom Cell. We used to live for 8 years off-grid in the forest. It's really amazing. But then we saw the Freedom Cell, and we really like it. So the place that we are in, that's Mexico. In the left, 2 hours from Mexico City, there is a place called Valle de Bravo. And then half an hour from there, we have the monarch butterflies, just 10 minutes from where we live. And this is the area that we are in. The part that is in orange is the land that we have already bought. It's 1 hectare. And the 2 other lands can be bought. So now we have our house there, and we're opening. We were really thinking, until there is this very clear vision of the Freedom Cell, to open it for more people.
And here in the screen below, you can see the link. You can look into it and all the information if you're interested to join, because we are opening now for more people to come. It's geophilia.org/freedomcell-Valle de Bravo HTML.
So we did like some renders and some ideas of how this can be developed. That's our house. It's forest, pure energy, a lot of spring water, organic food, you know, all this stuff that we have been talking about. This is one of the possible houses that we can build, we can do. We are also builders, natural builders. And now you will see, time is really flowing, okay? You will see a lot of other images of things that we have been.
Yeah, so we have been living already some years now off-grid, and would like to share a few things with you. It's not an easy thing, guys. You have to really want it with all your heart and your soul, because there will be challenges. It's not like a cozy apartment somewhere in the city where you have Netflix or whatever, if that's even interesting to you, I'm just saying. But on the other hand, it gives you so much back. This house, we designed it by ourselves. We built it with a group of builders. We have crystals everywhere. We have geometries that we wove into the floor. And we have all this nature around us, pure nature. We have no EMF. We have satellite internet. And we have to have also backup systems. We have solar panels and solar hot water. And we're trying to go towards the biggest percentage of independency. But it's a place where you can, any place like that can be like a sanctuary for you. It can be a place where you can manifest your best self, when you can really understand who you are and what you want in life. So whatever you invest in, with its challenges, it will give you back. And every kind of design and choice of life, living somehow, it has its own pros and cons. So you have to weigh what is important for you.
In the Geophilia design systems, what we want is for you to avoid the mistakes that we have made with many clients, with many people, many friends. In these systems, we have 4 stages. The first one is the client analysis. So what we do is we analyze exactly what is the cymatics of your voice, what is the elements, the 5 elements, the Chinese medicine, etc., etc.
So we can pick colors and geometries and things like that. The second part is we analyze the land. So from all the research that I was mentioning before, we know what areas can have an underground water or a fault. We can avoid them, and then we choose the areas that are more implosive or more harmonic. And then in the part of the architectural design, we combine all the things that we have explored together with Arturo, like our 40 years of combined experience, which includes doing a conscious master plan, sacred geometry, auspicious layouts and all the ancient traditions, bioclimatic and passive strategies, permaculture and biomimicry, and then of course picking sustainable materials. And then we add what we call the space harmonics technologies, which is all about increasing the harmonics or the fractality or the coherence of your space. And then in the 4th layer, which is the construction, we do all this sacred geometry net that we weave by hand. We custom design those, and we have implemented them in different projects. We have seen, for example, seeds that were stored in a place like that, they grew 3 times more. And there are many stories that I could tell you, but we need a lot more time. We also incorporate that through sacred geometry art. We customize it according to the client analysis. As I was saying before, the slides are not coming. Are we okay with the slides? Derek? Oh, okay, they just moved pretty fast. Okay, there we are, great. So yeah, this is like the sacred geometry art. And now we'd like to show you a few examples of community projects and other projects we have designed.
This is Earth Angels. It's a crypto hemp-based project, really amazing guys. And they ask us, like, what can we do in the master planning? So this is the proposal we made. So you can see these flowing curves. And we will see a lot of images here, just food for your eyes. We cannot, like go into all the details, etc. But this is the whole idea of doing things that can be applied. AMA Center, it's an off-grid community. Okay, we have a delay. And this is all super adobe. Full super adobe, absolutely no concrete, no cement, nothing, just super adobe, everything natural with the Lord of the Rings entrance. KMX is a chakra healing hotel, and this is the same. The master plan is very important because we have had this, you want to go somewhere, you buy the land, and then you start doing a little house here, and then everything is not connected. So if you have sacred geometry design, you can connect everything. So there's some renders here, some images. They're in the process of taking.
Yeah, this is in
permits.
Tulum.
Near Tulum, in an area we have a little bit of delay between what we see, the past and the future. It's a time lapse. Okay, we're almost ready to do it. We're just on time. Okay. There is another one that you will see in a bit that it's called the Love Community. It's in Greece. And it's really amazing. They are already a community. They have already a bond. And they're looking to have an eco village, which is the physical place. It's two different things. And this is a master plan, which is all based in an hexagon sacred geometry.
It's all of grid.
All of grid. And these guys are really, really hardcore. Like, they don't want anything from the government. Like, tipota, nothing. This is Vipassana Healing Center.
Community.
And community next, it's a place called Amanalco de Becerra, next to Valle de Bravo. And they have this explicit Arabic sacred geometry. And Aiki Healing Center, it's a place that was built. This is in Toluca. This is actually a place that was built from the design. It's based on a torus. And you can see there in the center, this huge mandala making these electromagnetic fields to move. This is in Toluca in Mexico, like an hour from Mexico City. And this one, the Pentagon community, it's two families that they wanted to be together. And they say, okay, how can we be together? Because,
Yeah, they wanted to be together, but they also wanted to invite other people to live with them. And they wanted also to have like a little healing center to invite also teachers and do seminars and things like that. So it's like based on this fractality law and distribution. So they wanted to come together. So the project was bring them together and bring more people together.
And this one, I just love it. It's a Montessori. It's a place that was built. It's a school in Jalapa, 5 hours from Mexico City. And this is hardcore. Like the owner was like, I don't want anything industrial. He did everything stone, hemp, adobe, bamboo structure, green.
Yeah, we're getting with time. So one thing we also wanted to share with you guys, we have in Geophilia a course. It's called the Masters. It's 12 modules, and we can teach anyone, either you have a designer background or a healer or wherever you are in your journey. You don't need to be an architect. You are welcome if you are an architect as well. And we teach you all that system so you can apply it into your own communities or wherever you are. And these are our books. We wrote this book of The Power of Sacred Location. This is all about the geobiology aspect and the temples. Then we have Sacred Geometry and Architecture and some books of Arturo in Spanish. And for today, we would like to offer you a gift. We have compiled together a PDF of over 10 pages about why sleep is so important and what you can do. We have all the best tips from all our experience, what you can do to create like a sleep sanctuary. So if you go to geophilia.org, geophilia.org, you will see this little window and you can download. Please start applying these hacks that we have there. They're so important. They can really affect your health long term. We also have an upcoming workshop, which is tomorrow at 10 o'clock. And we're going to be teaching about how to find freedom in the 5 levels of existence that we mentioned earlier. So it's the vital, physical, emotional, intellectual, and spiritual. We believe that true freedom comes when you find the freedom in each of these levels and you create more inner coherence, more inner fractality in your life. So in our opinion, what we'd like to leave you with is, if you have a harmonic space, which is the outside space of you, and you have inner space harmonics, and you combine these two, you can have bliss in your life. This is us. If you want to contact us, it's all in the website as well. And that's it for today. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yes, make some noise for them. Wasn't that wonderful? You guys enjoying that? Yes, wonderful. This is the kind of knowledge we need to be shared between all of us. All right, thank you guys for being here. All right, we're going to take it back to John, Texas.
Thanks, Derek. And thank you for that incredible presentation. Give it up once more. I mean, I think it's pretty cool that so much thought goes into how a home is built, right? And my lovely wife, Rebecca, worked in the tiny home industry. And when they would buy tiny homes from the manufacturer, they would come delivered with these signs that were like, toxic off-gassing happens for the first several weeks or months. Do not be in this place. And it's like, you think it stops right at that line, and like, what's going on? So these natural buildings, natural homes, River and Amani are into that too. And they had this whole concept of a healthy home. And it never really occurred to me how we're just surrounded by all sorts of toxins. And then they mix in the spiritual aspect too, and all that energy. So really appreciate you finding that speaker. Now, our next presenter is somebody that is part of an incredible community that's here in Bastrop County with a lot of really great people. It's centered around a homeschool co-op, and it's been around for quite some time. You know, the fail rate for businesses is really high. It's about the same for intentional communities, but theirs has stood the test of time, decades. She hasn't spoken on a big stage like this before, like some of our presenters and some of the folks in Mexico. So I just want to shout out the Greater Reset, because we're bringing you guys some folks that don't get a lot of exposure because their ideas and the stuff they're doing is really, really cool. So she's a bit nervous. I want you guys to give her a very warm welcome and send her tons and tons of heart energy. Let's give it up to Ash of Greenbrier.
Hi, John. Thank you.
Nervous. Yes, very much. Good morning, everybody. Hello. All right. Well, my name is Ash Wycheck. I am a community member and an educator at Greenbrier Community School. It is here in Bastrop, about, would you say 18 minutes from here? So not too far. We're halfway in between Elgin and Bastrop. And the community has been around since 1969. So it was a group of academics from UT that decided to start a school, and it was part of the free school movement during that time. So some of the philosophies that we really still hold near and dear are writings by A.S. Neal, John Holt, John Gatto, and Maria Montessori. A lot of our classes and I guess our curriculum centers around experiential education. So the kids are right up in there with us doing all sorts of stuff. We do promote adult education as well, and just, helping people find, where they want to fit in. So what is it like living in community? So I'm kind of a hybrid in this world, or my family is. My partner comes from Miami, Florida. I come from Gunnison, Colorado. And somewhere in the middle, we met in Houston back in 2004. And just really never fit in, I guess. I mean, we'll get into that here in a little bit. But community living for us, I mean, this was a whole new parallel shift. We didn't know that places like communities existed. We had no idea that this was something like from the 60s that still, was running strong. And so I guess I'll just get right into that story, and then we can talk a little bit more about community. So 2004, I met my husband, and we bought a house in 2006 in Katy. Both had conventional jobs. He was in telecommunications. I worked in oil and gas. I do have a nursing background, but decided not to go that way, and kind of started up a little catering business and became a chef instead. So that's kind of, it was all over the place. And during that time, we, would have gatherings, parties, things like that, and kind of started realizing that we had ideas that were really big. people called us crazy. And they thought, well, you know, they're onto some other harebrained idea or something like that. And this man came into our life, and I brought him with me today. His name was Gary Wallace. And this is my best friend's father, who's now passed. But he started asking us some pretty interesting questions and then started talking about some pretty interesting concepts. The first one we heard of was the Federal Reserve. And he said, you know, please don't take my word from it. This man was a Vietnam vet. This is before internet and all that other stuff. He was going to libraries and researching and doing all this stuff. So he started planting some seeds with us, and we started looking into this ourselves, started doing our own research, and we were like, wait a minute, what is really going on with the world? And so that kind of propelled us into a space of that, you know, paranoid prepper type, not to put any labels on anything. We were just kind of in that fearscape, like, oh my gosh, the world's going to end. What are we going to do about that? And so started, again, educating ourselves and learning more about law. My partner's very much into law. And I started looking into practical ways to raise our own food. Meanwhile, we're still living in Katy, Texas, and 2006 rolls around, and he ends up, or I'm sorry, 2008, he ends up getting transferred to Austin. So we have twins from his first marriage that are amazing, incredible human beings. They're now 25, doing well, doing their adult thing. They still live in Houston. And so we decided to keep the house in Houston to basically facilitate, you know, their needs with a blended family. So he's living in Austin during the week. On the weekends, he would come home, and then we would visit and talk about everything we'd been doing for the week. And we had this hot tub in our backyard. And so this is kind of why I named this speech. But we had this hot tub in our backyard, and on Thursdays when he would get home, we would sit in our backyard and have a glass of wine, talk about all of our dreams, our realities, you know, what was going on. And there was a day that we started thinking of our dream house, like what that could look like. And that we knew we didn't want to stay where we were at. We knew that there were bigger plans for us in the world. And so we started writing down, and we had a list, you guys. I mean, it was a mile long of exactly what we wanted our house to look like. I mean, it was down to having a wood burning stove. We knew we wanted to live off the grid. We wanted to have, you know, our own food sources. We didn't want to pay taxes. That was a really big one. We wanted it to be in a densely wooded area with running water, wells, you know, the whole 9 yards. And so we wrote all that down and then kind of just put it away for a little while. We didn't really think about it too much. So 2009, we get married. 2011, our son Liam was born. And this, you know, I was a person that wanted 10 kids. I swear I wanted like to just raise a huge family, have a farm, you know, do that kind of thing. And Liam, we both have a genetic, I guess, disposition to where it brought upon us something we never really faced before. And so after he was born, had a healthy pregnancy, did the whole midwife thing. It was great. 2 days after he was born, he was so jaundiced that they rushed him to Texas Children's downtown. So it's a really scary time for us, and we didn't know what was going on. He wasn't reactive to UV light. They were talking about blood transfusions, possible brain death. And so during that time, I was completely checked out, totally disassociated with reality at that time. And we found that when they were finally able to get a diagnosis for him, that he had it's called progressive familial interhepatic cholestasis type 2. And so basically what that meant was that his body didn't produce bile salts within the liver to transport bile. So over the course of time, his liver would become cirrhotic pretty much. And so we were looking at a potential liver transplant in a year and just a whole mess of stuff. So there were other complications to this situation, but you know, having that nursing background, I started doing some pretty heavy research. And again, listening to my friend Gary, you know, don't take anybody's word for anything. Start researching it yourself. We learned that through that the protocols that they had him on weren't necessarily, like, over the course of time, would have also led to toxicity within the body. And so we did something we probably could have gotten really, I guess, in trouble for, is we started weaning him off of his medications. So the doctor, during that time, there was a young Amish young lady who was going through cancer treatment. Was making national news. And she, I guess the state was trying to gain custody of her, and the whole medical kidnapping thing really became prevalent to us. And so then we started thinking, all right, well, if we get through this, what are we going to do now? So we did what Brad did. We sold everything. We got rid of 85% of our stuff through 3 garage sales. I still regret selling a commercial grade KitchenAid mixer. I still have an issue with that. But we got rid of everything, and we bought a bus, and we decided to move into that and move up to the Elgin area, right around the corner, right down the street. And really grew to love the community at this time. I guess I need to finish talking about Liam and that. We got him off the medication. I'm sorry, guys. I don't mean to jump around. We got him off the medication. We looked at doing the autoimmune protocol. So we didn't have him on dairy, wheat, gluten. We really watched what he ate for a long time, and everything kept checking out. It was fine. So that's when we made the decision. All right, let's go ahead and let's try something on new. And so we lived there. I ran a catering business and started really getting to know our local producers and getting to see the people that, are part of our food system so deeply and intimately that, fell in love with it. And so we're living in the bus. Everything's great. Total lifestyle change. We're seeing the twins on the weekends and still spending a lot of time with them and traveling. And well, we had a food booth set up at the Antique Festival. Does anybody know the Round Top Warrenton area here? It's a huge area, and it comes alive twice a year for this Antique Festival. So we had a food booth, and we decided that that's what we were going to really invest our time and energy into, was this catering business. And so we meet a friend of ours who had grown up on and off throughout his childhood at this community called Greenbrier. Like, all right, well, that's cool. We didn't really go out to see it, though. It was about a year or so before I think we went out there. About this time, it's about 2015 or so. So I would go out there and go foraging, go hiking, and take Liam with us. He was about 5 at this time. And this world was like a bubble. And it's kind of like a snow globe where you shake it up a little bit, and it's this whole other alternative reality. And it was kind of a really surreal experience. So I think we'd been out there 2 or 3 times hiking. I think it was our 3rd visit. And our friend Brian says, hey, do you want to see the bamboo house? All right, yeah, let's go check out the bamboo house. So we go down what used to be a road. I was hiking in brush up to my chest and carrying Liam on my back. And we walk into this house, and he's like, oh, yeah, so giving us the history, who lived there and all that. And I kid you not, my jaw hit the floor. It was every single thing on that list that we had written down back in 2008. So that was a shock. I mean, I didn't understand. I'm not a religious person. I'm definitely a spiritual person. I definitely believe in something way bigger than us. But I didn't realize at that moment how intensely amazing it is to be in co-creation, like at all. Like, it just blew my mind. And the house itself was very dilapidated. Nature had taken over. There was a family of raccoons and vultures living in there. And glass was broken. I guess there was a Halloween party thrown a couple years there previous, because it was creepy. And so we're still finding stuff in the dirt out there, by the way, for the Halloween party. But it was just this incredible space that hit every single list or thing off of our list. So I put that down for a little bit. And during that time, I went to go see a conference in California with a friend. The author's name was Mary Morrissey. Does anybody know who Mary Morrissey is? A little bit. She is published through Hay House, and my friend got an extra ticket to go to the Stream Builder conference. And so I was like, all right, well, I'll go. I don't have any money. I don't know how I'm going to get there, but somehow it all ended up working out. And so we went out there. And she had me keep a little journal through this week course, which I brought. So excited about it. And some of the things that she told us, and what I want to share with everybody today to kind of take home with them, is she had us answer 5 very specific questions to test our dream. Does it give me life? Does it align with my core values? Would it cause me to grow? Do I need help from a higher power? And is there good in this for others? So we get back from that, and that's a whole nother story I'd love to share with anybody later if they're interested in hearing it. We get back from this conference, and I'm telling my husband, I'm like, hey, you know, this was such a great experience. You know, I started writing down all these other things that I wanted to see as well. So this house, we've got this house we're looking at, again, have no experience of what it's like to live in community. Don't even know how we're going to start asking the community if it's okay. And we didn't know what our next steps would be. But we started writing stuff down again. And I think it was about, we went out and hiked there for about 6 months. I think it was about that point we finally, you know, asked the community, hey, what's the process? How do we do this? So 54 years Greenbrier has been in existence. And it, like everything else, goes through, you know, circular shifts, right? These paradigm shifts. And at that time, there wasn't a whole lot going on. The school, I think, had 1 student. When we asked the community, you know, if we could live there, they kind of looked at us like we were yuppies, I think, and like, oh, you want to live off the grid in the bamboo house? Yeah, go for it. We give you 3 months. And so 6 years later, here we are, and I'm talking about it. So I think I'm running around in circles a little bit. Sorry, guys. Sorry. Being in community was unlike anything I've ever experienced. In the beginning, you know, we just did what we could. We were very, very consumed with fixing this house up. It took us 3 months just to get it to a point where it was livable, because rats and all that, I mean, it was really just run down. And so we went in there with a pressure washer and bleach and hazmat suits and started, you know, cleaning everything up. And what was exposed underneath was all these longleaf pine floors. The house was completely built out of reclaimed materials. And so we started seeing these like little nuggets of gold there, and started getting involved more in the community. We started, you know, going to the meetings. We started, you know, working in the gardens. We started being a part of the school. And it is the most humbling and incredible experience. A year ago, I would have sold the pants off of Greenbrier and told you, like, I totally suggest it for everybody. What I can say now, and why I've never really publicly spoken about it, is it has really brought out the ability to heal through severe childhood emotional trauma. It has brought about the ability to be a better parent, a better human, a better, more compassionate person. It has brought upon this dream building aspect of actualizing some things that we talk about, you know, building a garden, having chickens. We had no idea what we were doing. And we just gave it a shot. And I highly, again, recommend living in community for this reason. Is everything that we see and do is a direct mirror for us to learn from. Conflicts with people, you know, that's a really big part of, I feel, community living is learning conflict resolution, learn nonviolent, or what I like to call compassionate communication. These are things that we use with our students too. Learn how to communicate and listen to people and where they're at in their story. You know, it's, again, I would highly recommend it to everybody. But know that going in, that it will change who you are. entirely. And that's a really great thing as well. So I think I got through a lot of my points. There's no such thing as coincidence. And I want to leave a quote too before I walk off stage here. Is by Howard Thurman, and this is something I got from that Dream Builder conference as well. Don't ask yourself what the world wants or needs. Ask yourself what makes you come alive, and go and do that, because what the world needs is more people who have come alive. So, thank you. Woo, lunchtime. Sorry, that was early.
Wow. That was awesome. Give it up. She was so nervous backstage, and we were like jumping, like everything's gonna be okay. And then she comes out here and immediately just starts crushing. Like, I was like, was she taking us for a ride there? Just getting us, what was that all about? Anyway, thank you so much, Ash. We appreciate your story, and it's a journey that a lot of people go through. And I think one thing that sticks out with me is they wanted to shift their lifestyle, and rather than just thinking about it or focusing on all the ways that it could go wrong or whatever, they just did it. Sometimes, I don't want to give Nike any promotion, but sometimes you just got to do it. All right, let's go back to Mexico with Mr. Derek.
Can you guys hear me? All right. Let's make some noise for our last speaker over in Texas. I hope you guys are enjoying the balance of speakers we're bringing to you guys throughout the event. So we've got one more speaker, which I'm really excited about, before we cut to lunch break. And again, this is our final day, so I hope you guys are really soaking this up. Make some noise if you're still with us, if you're still, after 5 days of dozens and dozens of hours of information. And I want to mention this, I don't know if we have, but every single talk that you've heard and will hear today is going to be available for free, as every single talk at all the previous Greater Resets are. I will be personally editing them starting tomorrow and putting them out there. And on our website, you'll see in the next couple of days, we'll add it back to the navigation. There's a page that says the Greater Catch Up. And Ramiro and his team made a really great menu where you can search by topic, you can search by speaker or event. And say you just want to hear about all the speakers talking about permaculture. You click that on the menu and it'll show you every permaculture talk we have from all 4 events for free, forever, for you to use and watch and use in your life. So that's what we're doing, because we think this information is important and it needs to get out there. Thank you, guys. So our next speaker is someone who I've recently become friends with, and I look forward to getting to know better. You know, this beautiful area, you guys know, you've heard that myself and Miriam and our team, we're working on a community project in this area, in the state of Michoacan, and it has so many benefits to it. So we're looking on more the southeast side of Morelia, but just to the west. Has anybody been to Pátzcuaro? If not, and you're here for a little bit, make time for sure if you are here. Well, this next project, who we're going to hear from, is based more in that area. And so there's just so many positive things happening in Michoacan right now and all across Mexico and all across the world. But there's really something special happening here right now. And our next presenter is going to tell you all about his ideas and what he calls net positivity. This next discussion is called Net Positivity versus Sustainability. Please welcome Dirk Christoph to the stage.
Hello, hello. Buenas tardes a todos, o buenos días, más bien. Ya estamos en ese momento de 12. So normally, last time I gave this talk, I gave this once before. It was in Spanish, and now I'm trying to do this in English for the first time. And I like to walk around, and I'm a bit of a weird person sometimes. So I hope you forgive me. And also, more importantly, I will probably break some paradigms today. I hope it will be appreciated, as I don't want to change what you believe is true for something worse. I would like to change what you believe is true to in regards to something better. So with that being said, I think Derek can pop up the slides. And since there's no clicker here, I'll just have to just say forward or something. So please excuse that. But until we get to that place, I wanted to say thank you to everybody for being here. Thank you for being an amazing shining light in this world. Thank you for wanting to create a better world. There is a concept, I call this, I call you guys and people like us, let's say, paradisians, because we're basically all here to create a better world. Not just a better world, but ideally the ideal world, right? So if you're in here because of that, then please make yourself known. Yes? All right, good, then let's dive into it. So, Derek, today I'll talk about net positivity as a new paradigm, and I'll talk a bit about how that manifests in the world. But before, I thought I'd just introduce myself real quick. So my name is Dirk Christoph. This is a bit of my work and educational history. I'm an engineer and also an MBA from the University of Munich. I worked for Siemens and BMW, like big corporate companies. I talk a bunch of languages. I founded a bunch of startups in my life. One being right now one of the largest VR companies in the field of VR training. So this is all, before I had my awakening journey, let's say it this way. I just was still engaged in, the normal world. I wanted to be the best employee of BMW. I wanted to be the best, startup founder, whatever. And the interesting thing, though, that happened was between the first startup where I worked about 85 hours a week, I was able to do the second startup working about 5 hours a week. So that helped me a lot to meditate and do yoga and care about myself and ask myself, what should I do with my time? So next one, please. This is my, that's some of the clients I used to consult with or for. This is my family, my lovely wife, Cynthia, and my lovely two kids, Max, Aurelio, Maximilian, and Victoria Elena. And just to know that I'm a human too, this is, there's a lot more to it, obviously, but we don't have enough time for that. Anyways, so let's dive into it. Obviously, by now, we can just flow through these charts, Derek, or these slides. By now, with deforestation and floodings and what supposedly is climate change and whatnot, we realize that we're not on a good trajectory as humanity, right? As global humanity. Obviously, I think there's exceptions within that. But if you want to give me the next one. When we're seeing these pictures, obviously, when we're realizing, there's a Fed printing fiat currency, when we realize there is, chemtrails in the air, when we realize there is mass manipulation of the weather systems and whatnot, we realize we're not necessarily on the best, trajectory. But as a solution, we're being told that we should become sustainable, right? Who here would like to be sustainable? All right. So if I succeed with my talk today, I would hope that all of you guys don't want to be sustainable anymore. And I know this is a weird thing to say, but bear with me, all right? So because sustainability has a problem, okay? And the problem with sustainability is, you want to give me what sits on this left side here, Derek? The problem with it is that it's virtually impossible to reach sustainability via trying to reduce our negative impact. There's a focus on trying to reduce our negative impact to zero, which, can you show me anyone in here that has zero negative impact in the world? I doubt it. I doubt it, even him. Does he have a phone? Does he have a car? He's not sustainable, none of that is. But there is a way to get beyond sustainable, all right? And I'll explain that in a second. So basically, sustainability by the paradigm of reducing our negative impact only works if we reduce 100% of all what we do to zero, and if 100% of humanity would do that. Not just the 3 to 5% conscious humanity we might have, but all of them, all right? So next slide after this, please. So this is a quote you might probably all familiar with one of my favorite inspirations. Buckminster Fuller said once that you can never change things by fighting the existing reality. You need to create a new system or new model that replaces the old one by making the old one obsolete. So here's that new paradigm. Can you do the next one? So the new paradigm basically is called net positivity. I'll explain what that is. If you haven't, anybody here has heard about net positivity yet? Great, awesome, great. Cool. For the rest of you, this might be something new, hopefully, and enlightening, ideally. So next slide, please. What I'm going to show you here real quick is you could just have to click through the left side of this real quick, Eric. So there's the existing paradigm, which we call sustainability, which basically the idea of sustaining the status quo for as long as possible. That's where the root of the word comes from, to sustentare, which is Latin for drag something out, right? And you're basically trying to reduce the negative impact, ideally to zero, right? That's the idea of sustainability in a sense. And now let's look over to net positivity. And for you, Derek, there's a point where it just looks exactly the same on the lower end, so maybe stop there for a second. So what is net positivity? It's essentially the idea of creating more positive impact than you create negative impact. You realize that there's two sides of the coin. It's not just reducing negative impact, but you can actually also actively, amazingly create positive impact. So on this side, you'll see basically, on the left here, it's basically the same thing. This is why I can confidently say it's better than sustainability. It's what we call in game theory a dominant strategy, because it does everything that sustainability does. It does reduce the impetus of net positivity is still to reduce your negative impact, no question about that. But it also realizes and appreciates that we can create a massive positive impact in the world. And many people, probably like the guy in Costa Rica, where was that? That he's probably already doing that. He just doesn't call it net positivity yet, right? Because there's a real difference between the two. And so you see, once you realize that you can have positive impact, you can actually create that, and the net impact that you create between the negative and the positive, that's actually the one that you leave here on this planet, right? So can we do the next one? Slide, please. So what's the point here? The point is that one more time back, please. Yep, that one. So sustainability basically tells you implicitly, and hidden, it says you're the problem. You're creating the problem. You're all creating the problem. And also, what you should do, and it's the only thing that you can do, is reduce your impact, right? And net positivity is exactly the other thing. It's exactly the other side of the spectrum. It says you're the solution. You can create the solution. You are actually totally capable of creating positive change. And what you should be doing is not minimizing yourself, like become a carbon-free future, right? But actually, you should maximize the impact that you can have. Just make sure it's positive, right? So this is the core difference. This is fear. This is love. Okay, does this make any sense to anybody here? That's what I hoped. Thank you very much. So, ideally, there's a little caveat down there as well for net positivity. Instead of it costing you money to become sustainable, you should make money by becoming net positive. And I'll give you an example for how that works. All right, so this is an example. Maybe next slide, please, Eric. All right, so sustainability would normally say, there's better animation anyway, sorry. It would say reduce, reuse, recycle when it comes to plastic, right? That's what we heard 1,000 times. Reduce, reuse, recycle, reduce. And how many people here probably would have thought, great, yeah, it's a great idea. Sure, we should reduce the plastic. Who here knows that we only have about a recycling rate of about 10%? That means 10% of all plastic in the world actually gets recycled. Most of it just goes into a landfill sooner or later. And if you recycle it once, you just give it another chance to land in landfill. It's not working, okay? And now what does net positivity say in regards to plastic? It says eliminate more than you create, all right? So he'll give you an example how that works. Next slide, please. This is a pyrolysis plant. And this is a huge pyrolysis plant. We don't really need that size. You can do this on a lot smaller scale, but it's just to showcase, right? So what a pyrolysis plant does, or pyrolysis does as a process, is basically putting plastic in an anaerobe environment, the right kind of plastic. Like you need to have a very sophisticated pyrolysis plant to be able to do most plastics, but you can start with this. And the point is, it eliminates plastic by turning it into fuel. So how does it work? It basically is an anaerobe environment. You put plastic inside, you close it off. There's no oxygen coming in, and the large hydrocarbon chains just move and move and move and break up into smaller and smaller pieces until eventually they become diesel, gasoline, paraffin, and other derivatives. Other products out of the petrochemicals that they are in the form of plastic, right? So, but here's the difference. So this means that you have, first, you have garbage in the form of plastic, and then you have none of that, So eliminated it, it's gone forever. There's no degradation over hundreds or thousands of years until it becomes microplastic, goes into the water, gives you cancer or whoever, right? It is actually eliminated. And then it turns essentially into CO2 in the end of the day. Hello, hello. All right, so this one seems to be gone. No, is it? Hello, hello. No, it's still there. Right on. Cool. So for that, we just have to realize as well, like who here believes that CO2 is gas of evil and death? Very few. Very good. So because it isn't, it's the gas of life, right? This isn't what actually sustains life. And to suck it out of the atmosphere and suck it out of everywhere and create a carbon-free future is actually sure death of all living beings. So we don't want to do that. What we don't want to do instead, and let me just go back to the two bottles, please, or forward, Derek. Yeah, so I'll give you an example for net positive business, right? So do you see these two bottles? The left bottle is a conventional plastic bottle, right? You buy that plastic bottle and you will have contributed to the creation of one more piece of plastic in the world, and you're going to feel sad inside. And then not next slide, but just give me the text, yeah. So it says this bottle basically has a net negative impact in the world. And then we have a net positive bottle. And as you see, they look fairly similar because they might actually be the exact same bottle. They don't have to be, but they could be. And what this bottle does, something very interesting. At the purchase of this bottle, you are kicking off a process of 10 bottles being taken out of the ecosystem and being eliminated. All right? So when that happens, that bottle basically is responsible, and you, by extension, because you bought that bottle, right? You have caused 9 less bottles in the world to exist, all right? So now, show of hands. Who would like to buy this bottle? The left one? Nobody. Good. Who would like to buy the right bottle? Everybody. Great. That's awesome. So now, but which bottle are you going to buy? Right? That depends on price. It doesn't depend just on the ideal, right? It is way better bottle for sure, but it's not necessarily the one that you're going to buy because there's a price, right? So if this bottle costs $3 and this one costs $1, which one are going to buy this one? And maybe of you guys, since you're fairly advanced beings, you know, worked on yourself, you probably worked on your traumas inside, and you're on a journey towards consciousness, so you probably might even do that. And a lot of conscious beings, you know, in the sustainability world have actually done that, like paid 3 times the price for the same product. But I don't think that is what most people are going to do. Most people are just going to buy that one if it's cheaper. But there's something which I call the banana point, which is that what happened in Germany with organic bananas, is when the price comes down sufficiently, there's a point where basically everybody decides, let's go with the net positive bottle. It makes more sense, right? So if this one is $3, $1, most people go here. But if it's like 150, 1, or 125, 1, 110, 1, 151, 1, then people would do it already. But here's the ultimate banana point, right? An ultimate banana point is when they're worth the same. So when this one costs $1 and this one costs $1, something very, very interesting happens. The left one just becomes obsolete out of nowhere. It just becomes obsolete, just like the quote by Mr. Fuller. So when you do that, you realize, well, you just have to put it the same price. So how could we ever do that? Because this is net positive, right? Well, we make money turning into eliminating the plastic. We don't lose money doing that. We actually make money because we can sell the fuel, right? So this one actually, right one actually costs you less to produce. So you actually have a competitive advantage over the conventional bottle. This is the power of net positivity, okay? Doing this, we can actually make any product that is currently not net positive can be replaced by a product that is net positive, looks exactly the same, just is net positive, right? Using these paradigms. And it's a lot more complicated once you go to a car or an airplane or something like that. But I'm still just showing the paradigm, right? So for this, we have created a consultancy. It's called Net Positive Partner. You can just go maybe to the next couple of slides. These are some of the people that are founding this. I'm working with a lot of very beautiful people that have basically like this kind of idea. And we are already consulting, for instance, the city of Munich on this kind of stuff to create net positive power plants and net positive fertilizing plants and stuff like that. So it's really fun. Next slide, please. Basically what this does, what the consulting does, first of all, it helps people to figure out how to become net positive. It actually helps them to do the actual impact, because not everybody gonna have a pyrolysis plant in the back pocket. And then it also certifies. So if you have, let's say, a company that produces plastic, or you know somebody that has a company that produces plastic, they can come to us, we can help them achieve plastic positivity, and then we can certify it to them. And then they have an edge on the marketplace, right? So next. Right, so now I want to show you a little bit about what Derek at the beginning was talking about was the net positive village. So maybe, what is a net positive village? Basically, it is combining all of those areas that make up a village, like architecture, business, agriculture, commerce, community, and there's also another one called energy up there. I want to just move until you see the entire slide. Yeah, one more. And if you combine all of those things into one location, like net positive living, net positive health, net positive ways of creating food, then you're basically creating a net positive village. That's what we're doing in Pátzcuaro. Because why? Because it's actually the city of utopia. And for some reason, that's where we got drawn to. Next slide, please. I'll just explain these concepts a little bit. We're going to start with probably net positive business. Yeah, one more back. Yeah, that's good. So the net positive village, you can imagine it like a refuge for conscious humanity, right? So it's a place where you can live with other conscious beings and together create a blueprint for a net positive society, or a future human society that is already net positive, right? And we don't necessarily have to change the entire world in one night, right? We don't have to create global paradise in one day. We can just create a mini paradise, like a small one. And that, if we make that net positive, so how does net positivity relate to paradise? Is basically, if you have a closed system and you constantly improve it, hence you constantly create net positive change, it will sooner or later become ideal, right? Ideal being paradise. So you can basically imagine us coming together there, and instead of going down the hippie route where we don't have money, instead of we're looking to create money, not through tiny little businesses, but actually through very highly profitable net positive businesses. We realize that net positive business is actually the solution, because the more net positive business is successful, the more money you make, the better the world gets, right? So it's actually, instead of business being bad, like we tend to think, because just 99% of all businesses in the world are bad right now, are net negative, doesn't mean that business by design is net negative. It can be made net positive. And so what we're looking to achieve here is to create an environment where we live in freedom, abundance, and net positivity. These are like the three core values of this project. And next slide, please. So I'm just going to go over these faster, so you can just show all the text. That's great. So basically, what I just said, net positive business basically means that we realize that abundance is actually what we should be aiming for. We shouldn't be aiming for self-sufficiency. I'll give you a better concept: self-abundance, right? We shouldn't be aiming, yeah, absolutely. We shouldn't be aiming for, this is just, we've been programmed to think that sustainability is the answer. It isn't. We shouldn't become auto-sustainable. We should become auto-abundant, right? And this is the real solution to it. And by becoming actually really good at business and net positive business, we can attract all the funds, all the people, we can actually model for the rest of humanity how a future humanity that is just making the previous one obsolete, how we live. We live in a beautiful house surrounded by a food forest garden, and we run an amazing business, or we have time to laugh and to come together and to dance and to do cool things, to travel, then we're going to inspire other people. We're not going to inspire them by living in a hut out of garbage somewhere because we just want to back to the Stone Age or something. Nobody's going to follow us there, I believe. Sorry if you are doing that. Don't want to step on your toes or anything. Anyway, so abundance is a key. Next slide, please. Agriculture, I know we had talked about this, so I don't really want to go too deep into this, but basically, regenerative agriculture is a thing. Syntropic agroforestry is a thing. It's a net positive practice. You create food while you're actually enhancing the ecosystem. So you're enhancing your own health because you're eating healthy food, nutritious food, right? That's a net positive practice. Next slide, please. net positive commerce, oops, there you go. Net positive commerce basically would mean as we start creating these projects and we turn our projects net positive, so we make net positive products, we should have a place where we can come together and basically commerce with these, like buy and sell net positive goods and services so that you can have a net positive lifestyle. Because right now, if you buy something off Amazon, you're not really causing the world to be better than it was before, right? But if we had a marketplace where the products would be, first and foremost, products that already are probably to a large extent very positive. There's a difference between net positive and positive, by the way. And we help the other projects to actually easily become net positive, then we can create a lifestyle where we literally, through our existence and through our consumption, we actually improve the world. Let that sink in. Because you thought that consumption is evil, probably, like I used to think, like that's not true. Is whether the impact of your consumption is positive or negative that makes it true or not, right? Good. Yes. If you have realized that, then yes, please, I clap to you, because that's awesome. That's a great realization. So for the community, you realize that we basically, most people here, as I said at the beginning, you guys are paradisians. You're the guys to lead the way towards the ideal world. That's what your responsibility is. That's what my responsibility is, I feel. Don't have to take it on if you don't want to. I don't want to force anybody to create paradise. But if you were to join forces, if we all were to join forces and we realized, we not just realized, if we worked together on the questions, how do we get to the ideal versus how do we escape the thing that's not working, then we're actually joining forces to create abundance together, to create beauty together. And we're creating something which is a uniting paradigm. Next slide, please. Yes. Next slide, please. So one of the key pieces here would be technologies like pyrolysis, like biofermentation, that can turn waste, quote unquote. There's not real a thing such as waste. We just combine healthy, useful resources into piles of things that cannot be used anymore, and then we call it waste. But there's technologies such as these inside of the village that help us to become plastic positive, that help us to become climate positive. Because climate, also just to realize, there is two parts to climate, right? There is a non-human made part to climate, which is the sun is just hotter than it used to be, and we get more energy down here. And this is why the entire solar system has been heating up, not just this planet. And then the second part to it is that we actually do what I call ecocide. I mean, with chemical farming, with pesticides to our soils, with weather engineering, with that kind of stuff, we're actually actively looking to kill the planet. So if we stop that, and we would, instead of that, engage in net positive practices, regenerating the soil, regenerating the earth, we would realize that actually, to become climate positive, the main thing that we need to do is to regenerate the soil's capacity to retain water. That's actually what fires the second water cycle, the one that we learned in primary school with these clouds and evaporation, condensation. That is actually what drives local climate. But so anyways, the point is we put these technologies in such villages, right? Next slide, please. And then there's a way to create net positive architecture as well. So we just saw, a bunch of really cool examples of what that could be, but also we need to realize, and this might break your mind again, but concrete is not really that evil. First of all, concrete is releasing CO2 in the atmosphere, so that's not a bad thing necessarily. But even if you were to think that CO2 in the atmosphere is a bad thing, concrete can be made climate positive by saying, all right, I'm going to put so much CO2 out, but I'm also going to plant so many trees or sequestrate so much CO2 more than I put out, hence I'm net positive, right? So you can actually, if concrete were so evil, we would have been dead multiple times by now, because the world is full of that stuff. Anyway, so we have created a net positive by design. It's actually fairly concrete-free building system that's called Refugico. Not really have it in the slides yet, but if you watch that presentation, there's a presentation, like an hour-long presentation on this website. You can actually find out more about the net positive village. So I'm just going to move forward to this because I'm a bit short on time. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So yeah, this one is the most important slides of all, probably. So you can just show it all. Who are we? You know, I do not identify with this bioholographic meat suit anymore. So, and probably neither do you. So what we should be doing is to realize that we are all basically here to create the ideal world, right? And there is people from all walks of life. There's people that are lawyers, that are teachers, that are educators, that are healers, they're warriors amongst us. There's all kinds of people. And basically what we are conscious humanity, right? And we come together and we create a system that instead of being degenerative is actually beyond regenerative. It's positive in all of its ways. It just makes the world prosper and become abundant where we are, right? And basically, if you can imagine you joining forces and you all aligning on one common goal, this is one of the key problems that the conscious community has been facing, is that we all are so individual snowflakes that we do all the individual projects, but we don't come together. We're not a big organism and the cell, we're just a bunch of cells in many regards. And I think this is the time now, and this is why we have these kinds of events, and shout out to Derek and all the team for this amazing event. Do this, shout out. This is the time that we actually come together, we learn from each other, and we can unite. We can actually become a bigger entity, which is the organism made out of a bunch of cells, right? And this is what we call the Paradise Syndicate, right? A syndicate being a union of people that all want the same thing. Next slide, please. So this is a nice David Icke quote that might resonate with you guys if you haven't read it yet. He said that a man, and he doesn't mean man in man, woman, this kind of way. It's just all of us, right? Cannot change the world. A single person cannot change the world, but a single person is able to spread the message that will be able to change the world. And I hope some of what I just said resonated with you guys. And next slide, please. Yeah, one more slide. Like not the end of the slide so that you show everything. So if you want to know more about this stuff, there's a netpositivevillage.com. You can check that out. There's a presentation on that if you're interested in working with us. There's or actually if you're interested in joining us, and in all of these projects, not just in the Paradise Syndicate. This is a collaborative effort. It's not just us and we're creating paradise and you guys have to consume it. It's like we all have to come together to create it because we all have pieces of the puzzle. So what I would like everybody to do, if you guys resonated with what I just showed, is please join the Paradise Syndicate. All right, because you're already in it, you're already doing this stuff, but you're not yet under one roof where we can all realize that we're doing it. And we can create more connections amongst each other and help each other to achieve greatness in this lifetime. So if you want to do that, then go to paradisesyndicate.com, sign up there. There's a network we're just creating, basically kind of like a social network for conscious humanity, where we can all come together and share each other's knowledge and also learn from each other, and more importantly, help each other to become highly abundant, because that's what we are here to be. All right, so thank you for your attention. And if there's any questions, I have 44 seconds to answer them. Is there any questions? Do you guys do questions here? I'm not sure. Derek, there are questions? I mean, we have, there's one. Because we have lunch coming after this, right? So if people want to stay and have any questions, I'm happy to attend to questions. Just don't know how that gentleman would, I'll give you the mic.
Thank you. In the process of transforming plastic into fuel, what type of energy do you use?
That is a very good question. And as an engineer, I'll tell you, the plastic that you are converting, once you did it once, that circle has by far enough energy to power the process for the next cycle, right? So you're doing the first cycle. The very first cycle, you need to add any heat source, right? But then what you're doing is you're converting all that plastic into its other form, which is diesel, gasoline, paraffin. These are all fuels. So you can actually take those fuels and power the cycle for the next run, right? Because there's plenty of energy inside of that plastic. We're just not using it. Right on. Any other questions?
We don't have time for more questions, but I do want to thank you, Dirk, for giving an excellent presentation, and thank you for all the cool work that you're doing in the world.
Right on.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dirk. Okay. All right. That was great. Wow. There's so many incredible people. You know, Derek sources all these great people, and I'm not familiar with them myself, but when I hear from them, I'm just really blown away and pretty inspired by the cool stuff people are doing in this world. Okay. I got a quick announcement before we go to lunch, but before I do that, we are going to hear from one of our sponsors.
I'm going all the way up. Ah, I'm going all the way up. Ah, I'm letting go in my heart. Ah, of everything that holds me down. No, no. Look up to the sky and I got this relief inside, and there's no need to hide. I'm going all the way up. Ah, I'm going all the way up. Ah, I'm letting go in my heart. Ah, of everything that holds me down. No, no.
All right. Check out Above Phone, abovephone.com. My lovely wife has one. She absolutely loves it. How are you, Derek?
I'm good, man. What do you guys think about Dirk's presentation over there in Texas and here in Mexico? You enjoy that? Yeah. I'm really proud of the speakers we've got, John, between both of our teams and everybody. We've got some really broad, empowering ideas, and I hope everybody's taking full advantage of this. And I know there's been a number of requests. We're going to do our best to get all of the presentations, the slides, PDFs from the speakers who provide them to us, and put that up with the links to their videos and stuff, because I know many of you are wanting to get those. So yeah, any speakers who hear this, we would love to include your slides. And yeah, we're going to break for lunch now. I guess I did want to mention, for those here in Mexico, we're going to be coming back 15 minutes early before 2. And for the stream, those of you on the stream, we're going to start at 1:45 p.m. Central. Ramiro is going to come back and present another hub. Yesterday, we got to hear from the folks from Mycelium in Sweden who came here. We're going to hear from another hub, an activation hub, I believe based in the Philly area, so you can get inspired by more people who listened to the Greater Reset and then actually got involved and started doing amazing things. So that'll be after this lunch break, 1:45, and then we're going to officially start the stream with the talks again at 2 p.m. John, what you got?
Okay, so I got something really important to share with the folks here in Texas, the folks in Mexico, and everybody watching online. So Derek, myself, our team, volunteers, staff, we put a lot of work and energy into these events. We also put a lot of money. It costs a significant amount of money to pay for the venue. I was just going to say, Derek booked the largest venue in Morelia. How cool is that? And then I realized we booked the largest venue in Bastrop, Texas. That's not saying much because it's a small town of about 9,000, but it's really hard to put these events on. And I'm extremely blessed in large part because I have Ryan on my staff, and Ryan does all this sales training, and he closed a whole lot of sponsors to help make this event possible. But it was brought to my attention, and I knew all along that Derek funded the Mexico event largely out of his own pocket. In fact, he had a stash of cryptocurrency that he had allocated to help develop his Conscious Agora project. He invested some of that money with the expectation of getting it all back into the Mexico event. But he let me know that he actually came up $7,000 short. So not only is Derek hosting that event down in Mexico and doing all the tireless work, but he's been recruiting speakers and funding the speakers and putting them up in hotels and flying people down and fees this. And it costs a lot of money to do these events. On top of that, just like the previous years, he's the guy that goes in and edits every single video and puts them up online for free. So I am calling on the folks here in Texas, the folks down in Mexico, and the folks that are watching online to help us recoup this investment. And I'm going to start by offering, I'm going to match up to $1,000 for anybody that contributes. We got somebody that's coming up here. So up to $1,000. So we need you to match this 1,000 in order to get 2,000. And that'll take a big chunk out of the 7K. So before we go to lunch, I want to see if you're going to match the 1,000. Okay. Well, there you go. There's 2K right there. All right. Does anybody else want to help contribute? Because at the end of the day, Derek shouldn't be funding this out of his pocket. This is like a community service that we're doing. So does anybody else want to help contribute? Anybody in Mexico? You can also donate. Those of you watching online, or if you have a card, you can donate at fundraiser.com/consciousagora. Fundraiser, that's razr.com/consciousagora. Anybody else want to contribute as well? Another 1,000. That's 3. Boom. What do you got? What do you got?
Thank you, brother.
Another 1,000. $4,000, baby. All right. Anybody in Mexico? Can you guys contribute? We got $4,000 coming from Texas. What else we got? Anybody? What you got?
We got
4,500. Can we get the whole 7,000 right now and just take a whole burden? What do you got back there? Oh, I think she was asking a question. All right. All right. Well, we have $4,500 coming for you, Derek. What else? What do we got? Another 500? Make it 5. All right, we got $5,000. I think we should just do this all right now. So all we need is $2,000 more to go. Is there anybody else? It could be 50. What do you got? 500. That's 5,500. So we got 1,500 left. I love you, Derek. You do so much for this community.
Thank you, brother.
You waste such of your time.
Oh, I got hands over here, John.
What do you got?
500.
500. Now we got 1,000 left. We're going to close the deal from our community right here. Anybody else? What do you got? 500. All we need is $500 more and we're all set. Just 500 more.
We got 2 more hands up here. Name a number. 1,000. Holy crap. Thank you. Wow. Holy crap, guys. Thank you.
He's in the black.
Wow. What is John?
We love you, Derek. We got you taken care of. Your community has your back, brother.
Guys. John, thank you for that. I just want to say one thing about that. First of all, thank you, John, for making that effort. So what John's saying is true, and I'm not here. This is not about sympathy. To me, this is all an investment, right? This is an investment to bring everybody here. Every one of you who's given me a hug and told me that this has changed your life or impacted you in some way, I guarantee you, Miriam Ramiro and everybody who's helped us make this happen over here in Mexico the last 6 months, it is worth every stressful moment to get here, to be with you beautiful people, and to connect with everybody online. So I did invest $7,000 of my money to make sure we could get this venue to bring all of you here. And unfortunately, we didn't make all that back through ticket sales, but it's been worth it every step of the way. And to anybody to offer that, to repay that, I greatly appreciate you guys. It's all going towards the Conscious Agora. So thank you so much. And yeah, I'm ready for lunch, John, if you guys are. Thank you so much. Everybody in Texas, I appreciate you so much. Thank you for that. It really does mean a lot.
All right, we love you, brother. Let's go to lunch.
All right.